is Lori Lightfoot, and I am no longer running for mayor. I'm actually recording this from my new job as a... Hold on, I have to take this. Welcome to Lortillo's. Are you picking up a mobile order?
I told you to stop calling it that. The restaurant name starts with a P, not an L.
No, sir. No, sir. No, sir. You did not order onion rings. It clearly says crinkle fries and a cake shake. Sorry about that. Where was I? Oh, while I am no longer in the running, I do realize that it is endorsement season. And since I did have some support in the primary, mostly from people not paying very close attention, I would like to, at this time, announce that I will fully support the candidate who most reflects the spirit of my broken campaign promises, as I hope they will actually be able to follow through on them, instead of just providing lip service and mostly empty gestures. And that candidate is...
You are watching the Tuesday night edition of Chicago Corner. Woo!
Hello, hi, welcome to Taco Tuesday. Who wants a taco? Yeah, I know. Taco, go crazy. All right, everyone, act normal. Perfect. Now, everybody say Taco Tuesday.
Oh my God! It's Taco Tuesday!
Hello. How's it going, Chicago? Welcome to another Taco Tuesday here on Chicago Corner. I am deep dish pizza enthusiast Edward Heller, and I am happy to have my co-host Jerry Vasilatos joining us this evening. And, hey, Jerry. We got hacked by Lori again, and it's weird because apparently she's taking a part-time job now.
Yeah, well, we kind of speculated on that since she had her LinkedIn profile set up a month ago, prior to the election. I think she saw the writing on the wall. By the way, it was, as much as it concerns me that she's able to hack into our broadcast, it was good to see her again, because I'm going to miss the comedy value that she brings to Chicago and to our show. I'm wondering if she's gonna continue to hack in and tell people not to support us on Patreon.
Yeah, that's the one thing I'm gonna miss the most, is how she inadvertently is supporting the promotion for our Patreon by telling people not to. So patreon.com/Chicago Corner. Thank you very much to our Patreon supporters. What do we have, 5 now, Jerry?
I think we're up to 5. We've got, let me share our Patreon supporters with our audience. Kathy Powers, Dr. Howard Ehrman, Shane Coughlin from Carbaros Media in New York, Joey Lucasio, who was Joey Logato's campaign manager, and last but not least, Mr. Dominic Polello, who is always providing extra support as well as valuable insight in the things we talk about here regarding Chicago policy, and what we should expect from our candidates.
Yeah. Oh, and we also, Jerry, hit another milestone just today.
We did.
Ladies and gentlemen, we now have 1,600 subscribers, or at least we did earlier in the day. I think YouTube might have snatched 1 or 2 of them away, because I think we're stuck at like 1,590 something now. But
really interesting.
But I took a screenshot earlier in the day, and so we hit 1,600. So that's really cool. Thank you everybody who's subscribing to the channel. Tell your friends and neighbors. Ask them to subscribe to the channel if they're regular watchers of YouTube programming. By all means, tell them that we are worth watching at least on half of the shows.
Want to welcome Kit Cabello in the live chat. Yeah, hey, YouTube removing subscribers. By the way, I had no idea that when I subclipped our farewell to Lori from last Friday night that I christened Requiem to the Biggest Dick in Chicago, because as we know, she has gone on record herself as claiming,
"You dicks, what the fuck were you thinking? You make some kind of secret agreement with the Italians. You're out there measuring your dicks with the Italians, seeing who's got the biggest dicks. You're out there stroking your dicks over the Columbus statue. My dick is bigger than yours and the Italians. I have the biggest dick in Chicago."
Now, I think that lawsuit is still going through, but hey, she claimed it in the court documents and intimidating people that she's got the biggest dick in Chicago, which is why, for those who may have been offended or wondered why it was a requiem to the biggest dick in Chicago, despite the fact that she is a lesbian woman of color, that was why I titled the video that way. Over 2.3 thousand views in 24 hours. So maybe that was amazing. I had no idea that it would draw that many views, but I'm grateful for it. I made sure to use the hashtags and put it on our social media on Twitter and Facebook, and it probably had something to do also with the boost in subscriptions. So we're very grateful to all of our new viewers. We hope you enjoy the video. We hope you enjoy our comedy, especially Ed's. When it comes to Lori Lightweight, yeah, Kit says, "Be careful, someone might trip on her cock. She has yet to put it in her pants." Too true, Kit. Too true.
Right. Oh, we also have another breaking update here, Jerry. Still don't know where the wings are.
But
a little bit of sleuthing and searching on the interwebs, and I've located documents related to the case.
The prophet.
This is like a 3-page document that somebody must have grabbed out of a trash can or something and posted online. This is Vera Liddell's I forget what they call it, the proffer. From Kim Fox's office, basically recommending bail.
So without any explanation as to where the $1 million in wings went. That's is this a matter of national security that nobody can go into what she did with all those wings that she confiscated?
Yeah, so here it says defendant Vera Liddell has been charged with the felony offenses of continuing financial crimes enterprise, selling 11,000 cases of wings, and class X, theft exceeding $1 million. $1 million. $1
million, and we wonder why we don't have money to.
Yeah, if I were on the other tab, I'd hit the Dr. Evil clip right here, but I'm not going to. I'll just go $1 million.
So she had to file requisitions to get the money to pay for those wings that disappeared.
So here it says,
go ahead.
The other thing I found interesting, it says Vera Liddell has no publishable criminal history. Now, when I was searching through the county court records, I found several records of a person named Vera Liddell where she or another person named Vera Liddell was being sued by several different parties over a number of years, mostly for owing money. I didn't go too deep into those, so I can't confirm that was her. But if they're saying she has no publishable criminal history, that's questionable. Now, so we'll
questionable
pages in reverse order. Yeah,
questionable, which speaks to Kim Fox's office in presenting this proffer. If we see that
not doing their research.
So let's qualify though. Owing people money is not criminal activity.
I guess, yeah, that's fair. That's fair.
She might have a series of suits against her where she was the defendant for. Look, someone posted on Twitter the other day. They decided to go into Brandon Johnson's history of unpaid bills at the Cook County.
And he probably had a list of things. Yeah, it's hard to live in the city, man. It really is. I mean, I don't blame anybody for having collections come after them when it's so expensive.
I have some too.
And every day it gets more expensive.
But to the point they were trying to make by, I guess, shaming Mr. Johnson regarding suits that were filed against him for debts, I went on and looked up Paul Vallis. And it was like 6 pages of suits against him, the city of Chicago, all the things he mismanaged while he was here. And I posted it in that thread that the person who posted Brandon Johnson's debts on. I'm like, yeah, well, you want to talk about the Cook County court system's website as far as like documenting things that are charges brought against people. Beat this.
Okay, so this is page 3, basically, where she's recommended. It says, in particular, the court may consider the likelihood of conviction based on matters discussed herein. People of the state of Illinois recommend that this honorable court set an appropriate bond in this case. And you got Kim Fox signing with her assistant state's attorney. So I just thought that was cool. A cool little thing to find, even though like you said, it's some kind of conspiracy or somebody in the underground wing sales cartel must be getting to someone at Cook County courts to cover a lot of this information up to the general public. Where do those wings go? We still don't know. But getting into, yes.
I'm curious, have you kept your ear to the ground on which candidate has offered an opinion on whether or not they want to keep Kim Fox in her position?
That's a good question. I know I've been kind of scattered as far as following the previous debates as to who decided that they really want to get rid of Kim Fox outright, or whether they just have to have a long talk. I think the long talk is definitely warranted. If somebody thinks that she needs to be replaced. That's an elected position, though, right? Isn't it?
I was about to say, yeah, it is an elected position.
Have to wait.
My question had more to do with, have any of them offered an opinion on endorsing her when she's up for re-election, or have they offered an opinion on whether or not she's been doing a good job? That's going to be an interesting question to see, to look for with the candidates also.
Yeah, we'll have to consider that going forward, and maybe if we can get the candidates on the show, we can ask them that and many other pressing questions. I don't want to ask about the dibs question anymore, but we got to pick a new one.
We're tentatively scheduled to have one of the candidates on next Tuesday night. That's all.
Ooh.
Watch your YouTube.
Yeah, keep tuning in to Chicago Corner, because one of these days you may see a candidate on it who's in the runoff.
Watch your YouTube feed. Watch your YouTube update feed. We'll have a thumbnail up probably in the next day or so to showcase who our special guest is next Tuesday. So
last Tuesday we had election night coverage. That was election night, right? Yeah, that was last Tuesday. Wow. Yeah, I'm still kind of reeling from that. That was crazy. We had a broken down campaign bus, and then Lori conceded.
And then Friday we danced on her grave.
Yeah,
her political grave. Yeah,
as one does. And we didn't really cover a whole lot of the aldermanic races. So if you guys want more information of the full election results, you can go to chicagoelections.gov, and we got a link in the show notes for that, so you can see the latest updates. They keep, when they've been getting like mail ballots in, and they're counting them and adding them to the tally. So you'll load the PDF that says the election information was from the 28th, but if you look at the bottom of the pages, it tells you what date they actually updated it. And I think the last date was yesterday. So, along those lines, we did have a breaking news on one aldermanic race, but I will get into that as soon as I switch over to the tab that Hold on. Let me switch.
While you
this
do
tab.
that,
Okay.
While you do that, I want to share something as far as the votes being updated. Willie Wilson is doing more gas and food giveaways on social media, which leads me to wonder if he's still waiting for those mail-in ballots to show that he still has a chance in the runoff.
Oh, well, maybe it's possible.
Maybe, or maybe.
And just quickly, I don't have it in the show notes, but I did just recently find out that there is going to be a televised, I think it's televised debate between the two runoff candidates tomorrow. Block Club had something on that, and I can't remember which channel was going to be showing it.
They're also doing a safety forum next Tuesday before one of the candidates will be scheduled to come on our show in the evening to talk with us for 15 minutes.
Here, Wednesday. Oh, it's gonna be on channel on NBC5 Telemundo at 6 p.m. Whether they actually show it on Channel 5 or not has yet to be determined. Those networks like to not show those things on TV because they want you to be as uninformed as possible when you get to the polls. So let's see. What does it say? It says they're hosting it. Will it be televised? Doesn't say. So I guess check their website and see if they're going to be streaming it or televising it right on Channel 5 if you want to see the two duke it out. But here we're talking about aldermanic races right now today. And this is an article actually from the Tribune from Thursday, just to give us a basic rundown of what happened. So it said, voters heavily backed their current aldermen in Tuesday's municipal election. That was last Tuesday, with incumbents winning 31 of the 50 races outright. However, not all those races were easily won. In 22 contested races, incumbent aldermen faced challengers hoping to unseat them, but ultimately, the sitting aldermen were able to protect their places at City Hall with over 50% of the vote in their wards. In only one race, the 12th ward, the incumbent lost. In that ward, community activist Julia Ramirez beat newly appointed alderman Annabelle Abarca with 56.5% of the vote, according to unofficial totals. Okay, we can look up to find the official totals, but I'm going to go with that. 4 other wards. Come May, there will be a new alderman in the, and we will talk about that in a little bit. In the 14th, 26th, 34th, and 44th wards, candidates Jailu Gutierrez, Jesse Fuentes, Bill Yener Conway, and Bennett Lawson won after longtime incumbents announced they would not run for re-election. In total, there were 12 seats up for grabs where the incumbent council member chose not to seek another term. Because of this, a further city council shakeup isn't out of the question. 14 races are yet to be decided. Actually, I think that's 13 now. As no one candidate has received the majority of the vote in those wards. At least 8 of those races are guaranteed to be won by a new candidate. After the sitting alderman decided to retire or seek higher office, in the remaining 6, incumbent aldermen seem poised to secure a victory as they all came out as top vote getters in their wards. Okay. All right. And then, so April 4th is the runoff in there. So there's going to be a ton of aldermanic races in the runoff as well. Where am I on my list here? Yes.
Kit mentioned that the incumbent in the 12th ward lost, and he also reminds people that the Matt Asphalt plant still exists in the 12th ward. It's going to be interesting to see if the new alderperson who is elected to the 12th ward is going to be doing anything about that, or if it's going to be more business as usual.
Yeah. Yeah, we'll get to that. We'll jump over to the 12th ward in a little bit, but I want to so let me close some tabs here so I'm streaming faster. Okay.
I'm
Let's
just
start with.
You need a break. When you take a break to load stuff is when I'm waiting for my opportunity to toss something in. So sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you.
Anytime you got something, Jerry, I'm happy to hear it. I know I'll talk a mile a minute. Okay. So Where's my Twitter thing here?
We're both
Oh,
guilty.
yes. This was the breaking news from yesterday. Daniel Laspada, first ward, got just broke past 50%. So he won his election. So that was the breaking news there. And then
Mr. Royko should have come on our show as we invited him to. Maybe he would have gotten his message out more.
yeah, and if it had been a runoff, Royko would have been the other guy. So
yeah, it's a shame.
But
I mean, I also think that Laspada is a good alderman. I think Royko has some interesting good ideas. But it's interesting how that turned out. I didn't see a whole lot of Royko in media anywhere to have elevated or gotten a little bit further with the results. But anyway, just an aside.
Yeah. Okay. I was gonna do a meet the new alderman section, but what I want to get out of the way first is the notable runoffs that I was looking at. And while Laspada was going to be one of those I would mention, but he got over 50%. But the next thing I wanted to mention was if I can find it here. I got too many tabs open. I'm gonna keep telling myself that all night. Too many tabs. Here we go. 43rd Ward, Little Timmy Knudsen.
Wasn't he one of the people that voted against the homeless referendum?
Yeah.
And we told people to vote against him, so maybe we'll have a chance here at seeing him knocked out in the runoff.
Yeah, so here's Timmy on the left, and we got and he's going up against Brian Comer on the right. I think we reviewed this ward for our picks, and I think Comer might have been one of our picks.
Yeah, he was.
So this will be a good runoff to pay attention to.
Get rid of Knudsen. He hates the homeless very clearly.
Timmy was one of Lori's appointees.
That's right, and one of her allies. He was one of her city council hatchet people to just basically rubber stamp any shit that she wanted done, including don't show up for the vote on that referendum that should have been on the ballot a week ago regarding the taxation on really, really expensive properties to help create money to house the homeless.
Yeah. I do have links in the show notes to two interviews with Brian and Timmy, but I don't feel like playing them tonight. Screw that. You guys can watch that another time. We don't need to hear from Timmy right now. We're mad at Timmy. Okay. The next one, 45th Ward, Aldermort Jim Gardner, also facing a runoff versus Megan Mathias. Now, I should pull up my my election results thing just to double check the numbers on those, because you know how sometimes last minute a bunch of mail will come in and all of a sudden his 49 point whatever percent turns into 50 magically. So here we go. Jefferson Park. This is from the 2nd. So this is from 5 days ago. So we don't. According to 5 days ago, it says it's too soon to tell, but Aldermort Jim Gardner is extremely close to keeping his seat and avoiding a runoff with challenger Megan Mathias. Gardner has 49.97% of the vote. You know what? Let's jump over to the results and look at the 45th Ward. And
what are they thinking out there to support this gangster?
Here we go. Yeah, see, he dropped. He's at 48% now.
Good.
So it's a runoff. This is a runoff.
Good.
All right.
How many other candidates? Hold on. How many other candidates were running there? Was it just
1, 2, 3, 4, 5? You have 6, including Gardner.
Okay, 6 including Gardner, which means that 5 of the votes from the other 5 candidates could potentially go to his challenger. Hopefully, fingers crossed, to get him out of there.
Yeah, it's like, well, we'd have to do a deep dive to see if any of the other candidates were potential allies to Gardner, but I think most of them were just wanting to get him out. So they're probably going to pile up behind Mathias, but Gardner has his ways. So we'll see what happens in that race. Okay, so yeah, so he did not avoid a runoff. Let's see. Yeah, and James Sue came in behind her with 14% of the vote. So he's very likely to throw all of his supporters to Aldermore's opponent. It says, while all the in-person votes have been tallied, mail-in ballots still being counted, could fluctuate the overall percentage. How much longer are they going to be counting these things? What, another week, maybe? Maybe a week. Okay, so is there anything new? Oh, let's see. Mail-in ballots may continue to trickle until March 14th, Beaver said. Okay, so we got 7 more days of this. So nearly needless to say, I'm sure Aldermort is not pleased. Oh. All right, ladies and gentlemen. What else do we got? I think those were the notables for me. Kit mentioned what, the 12th ward? Let's look at those numbers. Julia Ramirez versus Annabella Abarca. Oh, yeah. Ramirez beats Abarca in that one. So did I have that in the... I think, is Ramirez one of the ones I'm covering? No. But we can look at her bio in a little bit. Okay, so we'll switch over to meet your new Aldercreatures. First one, J-Lu Gutierrez of the 14th Ward. J-Lu will replace indicted Alderman Ed Burger King, becoming 14th Ward's first new leader in 50 years.
50 years, that son of a bitch has been in control of that ward. Padding his nest, enriching himself and his cronies 50 years, and he's still not in jail where he should be. I don't know why the feds are taking so long to take his case to court and throw him behind bars, but thank goodness that that ward has finally been aired out with this new alderwoman.
Gutierrez will be the first Latina to represent the majority Hispanic ward. So that's good news for that ward. It says, with all precincts reporting, she held 65% of the vote. Yeah, that's pretty definitive there. 14th Ward includes Gage Park, Archer Heights, and parts of Brighton Park and Chicago Lawn. I just want to thank every single one that came out to vote, Gutierrez said in an interview. I'm going to be the alderperson that will serve every single one the same way. I'm not going to make a difference between undocumented, permanent residents, or citizens. They all deserve the same type of treatment. They all deserve an equity of services. All right. Sounds good. Next, 26th Ward, Jesse Fuentes. Fuentes. Yes. First woman and youngest alderperson to lead the 26th Ward. Fuentes won the election to replace Alderman Roberto Maldonado, who held the seat for 13 years. Yeah, so we're getting a lot of new blood into city council. That's good. We've been trying to do that. The 32-year-old community organizer said she'll have more of a grassroots approach to leadership than her predecessor. Okay. 32-year-old community organizer will also be Ward's youngest leader, first queer Latina to step into the role. Okay, well, I mean, identity politics is important for people, I guess. 26th Ward has always been run by men and never an LGBTQ candidate. We literally broke glass ceilings last night. Okay, you broke some glass ceilings.
You know what? Look how that worked out for the city of Chicago and Lightfoot won.
Yeah, I mean, look,
it's
fine to recognize it.
It's fine to recognize, but when they were talking about Lightfoot being the first mayor in however many years to she historically lost, right? And they said that she was the first incumbent. Has it been 50 years since Byrne? No, it's 40 years. How many?
Oops. I was trying to break in again. That was weird. Sorry. Hit the wrong thing there. No, it was 40 years. Yes, I am monitoring you while I am working at Lortillo's. No, sir, you cannot substitute a cake shake for a soda.
I guess what I remember them saying was that it was historic that she was the first woman in 40 years and mayor in 40 years to lose her seat, despite the fact that she was an incumbent. I'm wondering, was it historic also that she was the first lesbian woman of color to lose her seat? I mean, if we're going to lean on the identity, why don't we also mention that?
I mean, I guess so. Yeah. I mean, if we're doing like Guinness Book of World Records type things,
right?
You know,
that stuff doesn't matter for anything. Okay, it's great that Fuentes won, but I don't need to know her identity. Just do the job. Mm-hmm. Just do your job.
Yeah.
Nobody should know their identities when they have a job to do that's supposed to represent everybody. As Harold Washington said, many people thought when he won, everybody was going to get a piece of the pie, and he said, no, everybody's going to get a seat at the table. That's what it is.
Yeah, what I'm getting at is that it's good to recognize the milestones for equality, you know, or being non judgmental or what is it?
Not being prejudiced or bigoted. I'm all for that, but I'm tired of hearing about it. It's like, great, we know. I don't, you know, here it is, Ed. Here's this. I don't need to know what goes on in your bedroom or what your preferences are. Whatever they are, that's fine. But it has nothing to do with everything else that's going on. I'm not gonna prejudge you. I'm not going to discriminate against you because that's what your preference is. But I don't need to hear about it all the time. Just do your job. And it shouldn't be trotted around as a reason to vote for a person. Somebody's sexual preferences or their gender or their identity should have nothing to do with the job that they're being elected to do, in my opinion. It doesn't mean we judge them or discriminate. It's like, fine, that's great. Good for her. Proud of her. But stop just in our faces with this all the time. I think at this point it's like, okay, I'm going to use this moment to recognize that I identified this way, and I'm going to, you know, not discriminate against people who are like me. And then I'm going to say, okay, and let's move on to fixing what's wrong with the city. That's right. It would be like being in everybody's face. Hey, I'm a heterosexual disabled guy. That's why I'm qualified for the job. It has nothing to do with anything. My disability nor my sexuality has nothing to do with my ability to do a job. So it's just, especially in politics, that's the thing though. It's an element that panders. That's what identity politics is all about. That's why we've got Kamala Harris. That's why we've got Pete Buttigieg. I can't even pronounce his name. Or Biden's press secretary. Their sexuality or their identities have nothing to do with the qualifications that they need to meet, because all of them are completely unqualified to do their jobs, but all they do is lean on their identity. And I'll get off that soapbox now, but it's like, I'm just so tired of like hearing so much attention paid to it in the articles about, you know.
Yeah, I'm kind of trying to skim through the article because there's a little bit of that in there, but also she talks about how her traumas that she endured during her youth, and some drug addictions with her parents. Her parents struggling with drug addiction, and
it's very unfortunate, but that's not the reason to vote for.
No, but it's I mean, it's understandable that someone going through a lot of stuff that other people are dealing with in the city and wanting to actually make a difference and change it in public service. But so I'm fine. So that's fine.
Who else did that? You know who else did that? Kirsten Sinema. She was poor. She had all her problems. She was going to do this. She was going to do that. Oh, woe is me. Then she gets in, and we see what happens. Now, I'm not saying that's what's going to happen with Fuentes.
No, well, look, I mean, she's Kirsten Sinema is definitely a special breed of politician. There, I mean, that's.
What about Kamala? I was that little girl, And Kamala's not even African. And she
there
acts
is
like
a pattern. Yeah, there's a pattern. There's a pattern of the rhetoric that we see all too often, and so it does make us a little jaded when we see some people on the local level getting elected and using some of the similar rhetoric, thinking that that's what they need to do when they get into office. And I'm like, okay, once you get past all the rhetoric about your challenges and everything else, just let us know what you're going to do for the city,
right.
How you want to help. And so and to that point, finally, halfway through the article, I want to make sure that we're building a community that allows young people to understand that their decisions don't have to define them. They can be part of understanding the harm they cause and be agents of change in their community, she said. Thank you for finally getting to the point.
Right, that's a great message.
Okay.
She buried the lead. She buried the lead with the identity politics.
Yeah. So yeah, very different from Maldonado, the article says. Helping working families stay in gentrifying Humboldt Park will be among Fuentes' top priorities in office, she said. So many of her families are putting their homes up for sale and moving because of the increase in property taxes. Yeah. I can empathize there. Our families deserve to stay in the community they have called home for decades. There's a lot of work to do there. Yeah, there is. Says Fuentes will also focus on boosting public safety with youth programming that's rooted in restorative justice practices and culturally competent curriculums, and providing help and support to the growing number of people experiencing homelessness in the ward, she said. She plans to join the city council's progressive caucus. Okay, well, let's cross our fingers and hope that she's going to be one of the effective new alder peoples, alder creatures. I don't know what we're calling them these days.
We tend to lean towards alder creatures because the majority of them are not, they are filling a swamp, but there's a handful of those that aren't. So I don't know. I guess we'll have to be more polite and just refer to them as the alder people.
Yeah. Speaking of filling a swamp, Bill Conway, also known as Bill Yenair Conway.
Yep.
Won his seat in the 34th ward. How exactly? I'll never know.
Well, because he had the money. I'll tell you how. This is what I heard. Mailers. He spent a fortune on blitzing people with mailers that Mr. Ascot could not afford to blitz that ward with. So when you're getting mail like all the time from Bill Conway and you're not getting mail from Ascot because of budgetary issues, yet Conway did not attend any of the mayoral forums that Ascot invited him to, or that other organizations invited him to speak with Ascot, talk about ideas and answer questions. Lazy people got the mailers and just decided, oh, that's the guy to vote for. So once again, money talked.
Yeah. So here we go. Ascot got 33%. With all the money that Ascot didn't have, it's actually pretty good that he got 33%.
It was. He got his message to those who were paying attention. He got his message out to them.
Yeah, and I'm glad we could be a part of that. We gave him an interview he was able to share.
Two.
That's right. He was on the show twice. Look, Conway, we know you're the son of a billionaire. We know you got favors and you had a huge advantage getting into this. But if you want to talk to us, we got ideas for you.
Ed, the first ward encompasses the LaSalle Street corridor. End of story and speculation. We know what that's all going to be about.
He's going to be too busy to talk to us, Jerry. He was too busy to go to debate his opponent there.
I wasn't talking about his schedule to come onto the show. What I was talking about, I'm sorry, I was talking about the fact that as the son of a billionaire with all the money in the world to spend, that ward, that specific corridor is going to be carved out for all of his donors and all of their big business. That's what I'm alluding to. Yeah.
Of course. I know he's not going to want to come on here.
He's not going to want to. He didn't want to talk to the regular people in the other parts of the ward. He was eyeing that LaSalle Street corridor. That was the jewel in the crown of the first ward. that Conway is looking to, legislate for on behalf of all the big business interests that are affiliated with him and his father.
So here it is. Conway,
Not the
Navy
rest.
veteran. Yeah, Navy veteran, former prosecutor, heading city council to represent the newly drawn ward covering parts of downtown, Greektown, and the West Loop, and several pizza places, if I remember correctly. The incoming alderman became emotional arriving at his election party at Carnival Tuesday night, saying a lot of work went into his campaign to get across the finish line. Yeah, but you didn't do any of it.
He didn't do it. He's such a... I'll be polite.
I know the 34th Ward is going to be a big part of Chicago's future, and knowing that the folks there put their faith in me to advocate for them in city council and provide the resources our community needs.
He's another Timmy Knutson. It's what he is. He's another Timmy Knutson is what he is.
Yeah, they're probably best friends. They look like they are.
Yeah.
All right. Well, he's grateful and honored and exhilarated and nervous and excited. Okay.
But he wasn't as excited to like go out and meet people at forums and share what.
No, apparently not.
Award. Yeah.
Yeah. So a little more about the 34th Ward.
Hardlands Media. It's exactly the LaSalle Street corridor, Park Place and Boardwalk on the Monopoly board. Mm-hmm. Yep. Good point.
Yeah, 34th Ward. Long was on the who wrote this article? It was on the far south side and has been represented by Alderperson Kerry Austin, who faces federal indictment charges for bribery.
Along with Burger King, not on bribery.
And is retiring March 1st. Or so she retired.
But she's too ill to go to court, though. That's the new excuse that her lawyers. She wasn't too ill to take the bribes and do stuff at her age in the past 2 years that she was in office. But now she's too sick to like face the charges and face the music.
Oh yeah, well anybody can just say, "Oh, I got the long Rona now," and then they'll go, "Oh well, I can't do hard federal crime in prison because I'm sick now." That's how I'm gonna get away with it.
Yeah.
Okay, it says Conway gained recognition after an unsuccessful bid to unseat Cook County State's Attorney Kim Foxx. Oh, that's where we know him from. Okay, in 2020.
Yeah.
Okay, and he lost that. So.
And I love that next sentence.
Yeah. That campaign was bankrolled in part by $10.5 million in contributions from his father, William Conway, a billionaire co-founder of the Carlyle Group.
So you think they're going to serve the constituents of the First Ward, or you think they're going to serve the constituents of the LaSalle Street corridor?
Yeah, I think we know the answer to that.
There you go.
Yeah. So, yeah, he was endorsed by Pritzker, Federation of Labor, IUOE Local 150. What's the matter with you guys? You're union. Come on.
And recently retired Illinois Secretary of State Jesse White, who's really gone and decided to like shit all over his legacy endorsing Paul Vallow.
Big time. I mean, the tumblers got to be rolling in their graves, I assume, if any of them are dead. I don't know how that works. Did they replace tumblers like they replaced members of Menudo? You guys remember that group Menudo? Back in the I know I'm aging myself.
Well, I think that the tumblers still perform. I think that they rotate out the tumblers based on their age and ability. I've still seen them perform at public events. I mean, that's a whole
it's my assumption that the tumblers are basically the clone program from Star Wars, and so those tumblers only live like maybe a decade.
Did you say clones?
Yeah, I still haven't loaded that video into the system yet. I got to put that back on there. Yes. Kid Cabello used to be a Jesse White tumbler. Or maybe that was one of his clones. So we're just making stories up now. I don't know. Maybe I'm just getting tired of talking about how Conway
But you got to get to that next paragraph after Jesse White, because there we go.
All right. Conway faced some controversy during his run for not participating in any debates or forums, despite multiple attempts to organize one. Yeah, we know.
Yep.
The incoming alderman dropped out of one forum and was unavailable for 2 others, but he said he participated in numerous meet and greets.
Echo chambers, read. Echo chambers.
How about you meet and greet your opponent?
Yeah. You wouldn't want to be asked the hard questions by your opponent in front of a group of your constituents that want to ask both of you questions to clarify specific issues.
Yeah, wouldn't that be cool if you could just run for president, just do meet and greets?
Well, I think that's pretty much what they're going to be doing from here on out.
Well, I mean, they kind of do that anyway.
Now. Yeah.
But we could do. We could have the Volcano Party candidate, though, Jerry, and then we would just do meet and greets. Meet and greet the Volcano Party candidate, and then bingo, they're on the ballot. Wouldn't that be cool? I know, I'm just dreaming now.
Who is the Volcano Party candidate, though?
Well, that's a tough question, Jerry, because at the moment, the only one who's actually declared that he's running is a fictional character on Twitter with a head made of bacon.
So I think you got to spin that off into a super PAC and get more candidates to align with the party platform and agenda of throwing bad candidates into volcanoes.
Yeah, and on that note, baconsuperpac.com does still exist, actually, the website for that. Once upon a time, many years ago, I started a super PAC. It technically still exists.
Reach out to Jimmy Dore to be the Volcano Party candidate. Pat Brannigan, good idea.
Yeah, he's not running. He's not going to run. Jimmy doesn't want. See, what a lot of people don't understand is when like people who have like shows like this who call out, who speak truth to power and call out corruption and all that stuff. That's our role, right? Our role is not to run for president. Our role is to call out the bullshit. Jimmy's doing that well.
Although, if somebody wanted to give me $1 million or more and ignore my history of comments on social media, I'd gladly. But here, no, again, I'm just a guy with a big mouth here, okay? And I think Jimmy would say the same thing. We've got good ideas. We don't have the, I guess, experience to put those ideas into play, or nor do we want to go and align ourselves with all the other candidates who are not aligning or not, who are taking money from, you get there and everyone else is taking money from the big money donors. So you think you're going to change things, but you're not going to change things from within unless you form a third party. So I know we're talking about the Volcano Party, but we'd have to have a lot of money to promote the candidate running under the Volcano Party platform. So where's the money going to come from? I mean, we barely have a leg to stand on here, no pun intended, with funding our bitch fests Tuesdays and Fridays. So thank you.
So thank you, all of our Patreon supporters. So breaking news, everybody. Jimmy Dore isn't running.
I knew it! Oh!
Okay. In case anybody had any kind of inkling in their brain that he's not. Not saying he couldn't, I'm just saying he isn't. So, patreon.com/Chicago Corner. So Conway, meet and greets. Meet and greets. All right. He said in his victory speech Tuesday night, he says he's looking forward to working with anyone who wants to build a safer and stronger city. Okay, that's pretty vague. He says, when I get to city council, I suspect there's going to be a few folks that have different approaches on solving problems, but I think I'd start with what we share. My colleagues and I, we may differ on how to get there, but I'm confident that we can find common ground, he said to a room full of supporters. Okay, well, if he actually means that, You know, maybe he won't be an obstruction to progress.
Trotting out the wife and kids for that.
We'll see. Well, you know, that's what they do. You know,
they're like us. Well, they don't represent.
Yeah, no, he says he wants to increase public safety measures. I don't know.
They all do. They all do.
Yeah, I mean, okay.
They all do. That's the dog whistle for more cops, bad black people. What else?
Okay, he says certainly advocate we have the proper staffing and are embracing a community policing model, which really involves our police officers being out in our communities, building relationships.
And make them in the neighborhoods they patrol. Well, who's going to start doing that?
Yeah.
Why isn't anybody doing it?
I mean, there's plenty of vacant units and stuff out there in the South Corridor now, so maybe they can actually get cops to live there and patrol the areas.
Interestingly enough, Paul Vallis went on Morning Blowjob this week and was talking about that very issue about, you know, the cops building the relationships in the communities that they're serving and walking the beat in, so that there is not an adversarial relationship, so that, you know, the residents in the neighborhood see that their kids go to the same schools as the police officers. That's not going to happen though if the police officers aren't living in those neighborhoods. So how are you going to do? Are you going to do that? That's a policy we've proposed many times here. We've proposed so many great policies here. Make cops live in the neighborhoods they patrol. Number one. Number two, make police carry liability insurance like every other professional employee, like doctors, right? Like lawyers. And if they don't want to carry the liability insurance, then anything that's charged against them, any lawsuits against them, comes out of their pensions. It's one or the other. Show us that you're invested in policing properly and not relying on the taxpayers to like bail you out of bad decisions that harm the community or violate people's civil rights. It's not that I'd be happy to I have to take liability insurance for my business, and I'm happy to pay for it because if somebody uses a product that I manufacture and gets hurt, I want to make sure that they're protected because I've done everything that I can to make sure that that product is safe. So if you're a police officer, why wouldn't you want to have the added benefit of proving that you're doing everything you can to make sure you're doing your job properly and safe, and knowing that if there's a mistake, you've got liability insurance to cover it? Why wouldn't you want to do that? That shows a contempt for the community that you're policing and that you don't want to carry liability insurance to make sure you're doing your job properly.
Yeah. So. Oh, and I think Kathy Powers might be running for president. It sounds like she's going a chicken wing in every pot.
When she finds the chicken wings. So
yeah, I guess that's part of the battle is she can't run until we locate the wings.
Yeah.
So, and another new Alder person, Bennett Lawson, will succeed Tom Tunney in the 44th ward.
Awesome. That's another Alder person we wanted out who did not support the homeless referendum.
Yeah, Tunney's retiring, so basically, Lawson was here we go. His longtime chief of staff and ran unopposed. So
I'm looking at the list of people, so I'm just looking at those that didn't show up for that vote, is what it was.
Yeah, it says priorities will include public safety, including infrastructure, advocating for LGBTQ people, and fostering better collaborations in the ward. Okay. I mean, look, he's going to be like Tunney Jr. or Tunney version 2. We'll see if he's better. We'll see how his voting record is when he gets in there. All right. It says Alderman-elect Bennett Lawson has ties to Lakeview going back to his childhood. Lawson, who grew up in a White Sox-loving family in suburban Rockford. Okay, forget him.
Now, don't use the identity politics, Ed.
I am just kidding. Okay.
The sports identity politics.
Yeah. First visited the neighborhood in 7th grade when his friend took him to a Crosstown Classic game at Wrigley Field. Those are fun games, but it's weird. Like when I used to be able to afford tickets, it was nice to go, but none of my friends and family ever wanted to go. I'm like, why? I'm like, Cubs versus Sox. I mean, that's how often is that going to happen other than in like the 1900 something World Series? Was it 07? 08? I'm like, come on, guys. It's fun to have that friendly North Side versus South Side rivalry that's mostly in our heads. Come on, guys. We all going to get along. It's just sports.
Yeah.
Lawson and his college friends would spend Saturdays taking the train down from Loyola University to Belmont Avenue, stopping for haircuts, piercings, or shopping as they strolled toward Fullerton Avenue. Yeah, I used to roam around there. I remember that place. Just because, the red line was over there. So if you had a job and you took the red line, you basically, half the time you take home, you would maybe stop on Belmont or Addison and then head to bars or restaurants or shops or whatever. But I digress. But the significance of the neighborhood didn't hit home until Lawson attended a 1998 vigil for Matthew Shepard, a 21-year-old gay man who died after two men brutally attacked him and tied him to a fence in a Wyoming field. Yikes.
Yes, he is, Kathy. That's why we're hearing about what. Yeah.
Okay. Lawson, who had recently come out as gay, was around the same age as Shepard and went to the rally with his first boyfriend. That was the first time I realized how important this neighborhood is, Lawson said. Because Boydstown is over there. Again, it's fine to advocate. And fine to identify. Don't make it your entire thing as alder person. You gotta take care of your ward.
Yep, that's what I'm talking about.
That's all we're saying.
I don't need to know he's gay. I don't care that he's gay. I mean,
it's fine.
If he responded to that vigil, great. I mean, as a human being, that's a horrible story to have heard happen. Great, yeah. But again, it's like I don't care what you do in your bedroom. I don't need to hear about it. It has nothing to do with the job that has to be done.
So he says that was the first time I realized how important this neighborhood is. Lawson said it's about more than just baseball, the lake, and the excitement. It's that things happen here and there's a strong sense of community. Okay, good. Community is the important part of that sentence.
Yep.
Lawson, who ran unopposed to succeed Alderman Tom Tunney as the 44th Ward Alderman, spoke to Block Club Wednesday morning following the election. After spending an hour greeting constituents outside the Belmont station and sitting down for breakfast at the nearby Ann Sather, gee, I wonder who owns that. Lawson discussed how he plans to follow Tunney's legacy while addressing rising crime, improving street safety, and rebuilding in the wake of the pandemic. I didn't expect this to be so emotional, but in a positive way, Lawson said. I had such a great outpouring of support from people I've worked with for years and years that it's a little overwhelming, but I also know that I've got some work to do.
Good. We're glad you know that. So get to work.
Okay. All right. So he served as Tunney's chief of staff since 2007. Before that, he worked as the ward's director of community outreach.
Oh wait, so he was probably Tunney's selection to replace him then. If he worked with him, he's seen alignment with him. Okay.
Yeah, that's basically what that is.
Got it.
And and so it is kind of like it's a legacy ward.
It's a changing of the guard is what it is.
Yeah.
But let's hope that for all the advocacy that Mr. Lawson wants to integrate for the LGBTQ community, he has the same advocacy for the homeless that his boss didn't when he sat out that vote to get that referendum on the ballot 2 weeks ago.
Yeah, although I guess we'll scroll down and see if he mentions the homeless.
Because there are a lot of homeless people in that ward living under the bridges.
There's a lot of unhoused people throughout the city, and I'm hoping all of the older people are going to address it.
Of course.
With our next mayor, because this is getting ridiculous. Let people have a roof over their head. give him a fighting chance. You know? Okay. It says Lawson has led and participated in initiatives throughout tenure in 44th Ward, including a community-driven zoning analysis of every parcel within the ward that's helped with planned developments, Tony said. All right, developments. Helped with the Whole Foods and Mariano's developments, according to his campaign website. Works closely with the police district on crime prevention strategies. Okay, supporting LGBTQ community, assisting with projects like the Center on Halstead's construction, redevelopment of the Old Town Hall Police Station into a senior living facility, and construction of Howard Brown Health's health clinic in the nearby 46th Ward.
Question. Call me. I don't know. Maybe this is an inappropriate question. Why does a senior living facility have to be LGBTQ? I would imagine that all senior living facilities should not discriminate against LGBTQ people.
I think maybe just because, and this is a guess on my part, that maybe normal, shouldn't say normal, but traditional senior living facilities have a lot of old people who are set in their ways and super bigoted and racist.
Okay. Maybe.
So maybe they thought it might be a good idea to have a refuge for the elderly who don't want to have to deal with that kind of insensitivity. Okay.
That is a fair concern. It upsets me that any senior living in a facility would be discriminatory towards anybody that's different from them. But you're right. Not everybody thinks like me. So I guess that does make sense. But fair question.
It's like it's just having parents who are getting to the age where they basically say they have no filter and they will say anything, and they come from a different generation that has way different ways of talking about people and interacting with people.
Yeah,
I'd say that it's probably an okay idea to have a separate senior living facility for people who don't want to be hassled by traditional-minded old people set in their ways. Okay, I'm still looking for the unhoused section here, and I'm not seeing it here. So,
well, that's making my point, Ed. Great.
Yeah,
you're advocating for that, and you made a very good point. And as did Kathy. Yes, some discriminate. Great. Where's the equity for everybody, the homeless people, then?
Yeah.
Okay.
Well,
we want to be
clearly we see what his focus is, and
right.
It's understandable.
And is that the focus for everybody in that neighborhood? Because it seems to me there are others that are going to be underserved if you're focusing on one demographic more than the entire. Look, all demographics should be served equally. That's my point. Mm-hmm. Okay. Grady's doing this work. But again, every time I hear it come to the forefront of every conversation, that's when I start to worry, well, is that going to be the priority then? Or is it just going to be you're making it as equitable as all the other issues should be? That's my point.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Well, we've come to this section about public safety. Public safety will be among Lawson's top priorities, as Alder-MANIA said. 44th Ward has seen rising crime in recent years as the amount of officers in the 19th district, which encompasses most of Lakeview, has dwindled. Lawson will work closely with 19th district officers and the new 19th district police council to improve the community's relationship with police, he said. We have to make real strides to get our crime numbers down and our arrests up, Lawson said. We're not going to solve crime with more police or more arrests, but we have to get a handle on the spike we're experiencing now. Okay, I guess that's a fair response to the current situation. I
just thought of something to add to my previous soapbox. I'm sure there are a lot of gay homeless people. A lot. Yeah. And his boss, Tunney, remember, did not show up to vote for that initiative on the referendum we should have all been able to vote on last Tuesday. 2 Tuesdays.
I'm gonna scroll past all this law enforcement stuff. We don't need. Okay, let's see okay. Another issue is better public infrastructure. He says he plans to create a safe streets council that will recommend pedestrian bike safety improvements. We need a plan for bikes because right now I feel like it's very haphazard, Lawson said. Okay, he's not wrong there. We need to be smarter about how we plan those things. So we're going to work with the new mayoral administration to really have the Chicago Department of Transportation be a partner in what we're doing here on the north side. To improve transportation via the CTA, which has struggled to hire crime and ghost trains and buses, Lawson said the city needs more officers assigned to patrol the trains in a real-time GPS-enabled tracker system. Now, they need to fire the guy who's currently running the CTA is step one. That dude is useless.
Yeah.
And there's got to be somebody within the CTA who's probably more qualified, who could actually do the job and is probably being kneecapped by this guy doing nothing.
Yeah.
Okay. So now he's on to small businesses. He says small businesses also need support, Lawson said. He proposed examining potential tax credits for legacy businesses and removing red tape at City Hall that can delay openings by months. Okay, yeah, we talked about small businesses and removing some of the red tape. I even mentioned, I think we even put it in the manifesto, Chicago Corner Manifesto, which you can, there's a link at chicagocornertv.com, along with some of the other helpful links, useful links. I think we call it useful links. About getting city advocates. Well, maybe I didn't put that in the manifesto, but I know I mentioned it. That the city should have like a series of small business advocates who can help small businesses be compliant with all the things they need to do to run a business in the city without making it a bunch of red tape. Like these advocates can say, okay, look, you got to get up to code on this, or you got to have this license, or, those kinds of things, or we'll help you start up your business, or we'll help you recover from some kind of tragedy or some economic turn down where we help float your business for a couple months while you guys get back up and running. Like those water main breaks, for example. When a water main breaks, the city fixes their part of it, and then whatever runs to the building is the responsibility of the building owner. So some restaurants got screwed when they went and started to had water main breaks, or where they had to replace the water mains, and then all of a sudden they're getting this bill for their part of the repair. And some of those profit margins are pretty razor thin at some of the startup restaurants and some of the smaller businesses. So I can understand having the city come out and support in a bigger support role for local business, right? I mean, you support local business, they can create more jobs. Those people who now have jobs spend money back into the local businesses. It's a continuous cycle. It helps. I know I got off on a tangent, Jerry.
No, that's fine. I mean, you're making some good points. I was distracted by something that was coming in, a text message, but also I just noticed Kathy in the live chat is celebrating Taco Tuesday. She's eating a chili taco salad.
Nice.
I mean, I think we get it with Tunney's protege here. So
yeah. So he wants to create. Yeah. I'm still looking for anything about homeless.
Yeah, interesting. As Kathy also mentioned a moment ago, I shared this. There are many gay houseless folks. Many of the young ones were thrown out by their parents, and that's sad. It's unfortunate. But there are many homeless folks that are thrown out by their parents of all walks of life. So, but yeah, I take your point, Kathy. I mean,
yeah, it's just not a focus for.
That's what equity is. Equity means embracing everybody, not just a specific group. And yeah, unfortunately, a lot of groups have been marginalized throughout the years that should not have been. Okay. And that's what the whole move for equity and restorative justice should be about, but not suddenly prioritizing that group. And I think that's my biggest, issue is that, look, I've advocated for everybody for years, and I'm glad that there's been equity put in place. But now suddenly, you know what I hear? Well, no one wants to pay attention to you because you're the older white guy. It's like, why? Why do I see events that are like so focused? Okay, so on a tangent, really quickly, but I have to demonstrate why I feel this way. I get solicitations in the media community for open houses, right? Networking events that are always focus on, this is an I'm sorry, I'm getting the acronym wrong. LGBTQT event, friendly, and for women and everything else. And it's like, okay, you're focusing so much on that. I'm not feeling welcome as a white guy who's advocated for all those groups all my life, professionally and socially. Mm-hmm. So why do I have to suddenly feel like I'm left out? I shouldn't feel left out when you're just focusing on that's who's invited at a professional networking event, not a social event about civic action regarding social issues regarding the LGBTQ community, a media networking event. There should be no place in promoting a networking event for media professionals that focuses on that so that other people feel like they're not welcome. And that's why I think there's kind of been a slant, and this is what they describe as woke culture, which at one time woke culture was an important thing, to wake people up to the fact that people are marginalized and we should include them. What I sense is that suddenly when the equity's been extended and there's an equality, those that didn't have equity before now are like, well, now we can put our boots on everybody else's neck and just focus on our priorities. And that's not what equity is about. It's about equal ground for everyone, not just suddenly elevating another certain group who's been welcomed to the table so that we can all share and treat each other equally and fairly with no discrimination. So that's why I kind of get a little bit upset. Not upset, but I'm just like, every time I see an event that just focuses on that, it's like, well, clearly I'm not welcome. So I'm not going to show up because there's so much attention put on that that it doesn't feel like there is a place for me to participate and meet and spend time with other people. So
I can understand that perspective. I just always have to remind myself that, like, as a guy who passes as white, I don't. I need to check my privilege. I have a European Jewish background. That's where my ancestors came from, Russia and Romania, actually. I don't speak either of those languages. I know very little about any of my ancestors who were from there. But I'm basically your typical Jewish white guy, right? I don't take it personally when people are focusing on other identities, when I understand that I had it pretty good growing up. I understand that I have privilege, and I'm like, okay, well, this is not. I'm like, I don't feel too bad. I don't feel left out when they're focusing on marginalized groups that I'm not part of. I'm happy for the groups that are actually able to thrive and communicate and stuff. But I also understand that sometimes it does feel like you're not being included.
I'm not upset, and I don't take it personally, and I really don't care. I'm just using it as an example. If one of these social networking media events is specifically geared towards the LGBTQ community, great. But don't go promote it to everybody as a media networking event and then prioritize that.
Oh, you're telling me, okay, you're saying that it was promoted as one thing, but then it was actually something.
Well, they seem to be prioritizing a specific demographic to attend, not everybody. Well,
okay.
That's what I'm talking about. It's not. That's
prioritizing.
And I hear your point. I know that I talk about this all the time on the show. We've talked about it all the time. We enjoy privilege as white people in this society, which is why I'm always advocating for paying attention to the marginalized or underdeserved or abandoned communities throughout the city. But you know what? When I go to an event on the South or West Side that's primarily attended by African-American people, I don't hear that it's like a Black event. It's specifically that. I feel welcome. I feel that it's about equity and everybody embracing each other, not just using the labels to say, you know, this is the people we really want to cater to. And it's like, why don't you cater to everybody? If everybody's welcome at this event, then it's not a matter of discrimination or people being left out. Everybody should be welcomed. So,
I think Kathy has probably the best take on this.
Okay.
Just eat the food, man.
Yeah.
Go there for the food. Free food, man. Free food, Jerry.
Hey, I see my friend Dario San Miguel got past the countdown at the beginning of the show. Welcome, Dario. Glad to see you.
Yeah. Oh, should we play that for him one more time, just for? No, I'm just kidding. I'm kidding. Although we could play the Lortillo's intro again. I did clip that out in case we wanted to watch that again.
I think we should. We should remind.
But before.
Okay, go ahead.
But before we do, we did have one. I did want to briefly go over the 12th Ward challenger, Julia Ramirez. She was the other person who's new, and I had originally overlooked her because I wasn't reading closely enough in the previous article. Like, oh yeah, 12th Ward, that's a new one too. So, the appointed alderperson Annabella Barca lost her race, so that's another one of Lori's appointees who's not in anymore. Julia Ramirez, a community organizer, won 56.5% of the vote, ousting appointed alderperson who served as former alderman George Cardenas' chief of staff. So she was the only challenger. So Brighton Park, community organizer Julia Ramirez defeated incumbent alderperson Annabella Barca. Okay. Scroll down. Okay. This was her first time running for public office. So cool. She's been a Chicago Public Schools social worker with a background in community activism. Barca has been on city council since December when she was appointed the 12th ward seat by Lightfoot. And okay, prior to being appointed, Barca was an attorney and former chief of staff to Cardenas. Okay, Ramirez was Barca's only challenger. In an interview with Block Club, Ramirez says she woke up every morning of the campaign ready to work hard to win this election and was thrilled by the results. We were up against so much, Ramirez said. Ramirez said her election night watch party was a packed house of supporters celebrating the win. I think this is a huge transition to the southwest side, she said. We've been able to accomplish. Yeah, go ahead.
That's Cardenas she beat?
She beat the appointee, Barca.
Who was appointed by
Annabelle. Lightfoot.
Because Cardenas retired?
Yeah.
Okay. Cardenas was another one on our hit list that doesn't like homeless people. So good. She knocked out the appointee that replaced Cardenas, who didn't show up for that vote because Lightfoot didn't want that referendum on the ballot. Good.
Yeah, Cardenas stepped down to become a commissioner on the Cook County Board of Review. Okay, that's where it went.
Failed upward.
Yeah, we got to figure out how to do that, Jerry.
I know.
Failing upward.
Yes. No, you know what? I don't want to fail upward because I feel like I'm very successful and I feel that I'm very dedicated and committed to the stuff that I'm doing. We should be rewarded for what we've earned, not fail upward because we know people.
Yeah, I mean, in theory.
That's what we were taught as the American dream. Work hard and you're rewarded. Yeah, when you know someone or you got a lot of money.
Yeah. Okay. Ramirez said one of her biggest priorities before assuming city council seat will be establish a community needs assessment to better understand what folks want to see from her. All right, so she's going to ask people in her ward what they want. Okay, that's pretty responsive, I think.
That's what we want.
She says, we believe that we need to do something different. Okay. All right. Cool. So what else did I have here? We did the matchups. We met the new Alder-Creatures. So before, I guess this is the best way to start Endorsement-Palooza, really, is to play this one more time.
Hello, my name is Lori Lightfoot, and I am no longer running for mayor. I'm actually recording this from my new job as a... Hold on, I have to take this. Welcome to Lortillo's. Are you picking up a mobile order?
I told you to stop calling it that. The restaurant name starts with a P, not an L.
No, sir. No, sir. No, sir. You did not order onion rings. It clearly says crinkle fries and a cake shake. Sorry about that. Where was I? Oh, while I am no longer in the running, I do realize that it is endorsement season. And since I did have some support in the primary, mostly from people not paying very close attention, I would like to, at this time, announce that I will fully support the candidate who most reflects the spirit of my broken campaign promises, as I hope they will actually be able to follow through on them, instead of just providing lip service and mostly empty gestures. And that candidate is...
Yeah, it always breaks up right at the end there. We never know who she's endorsing.
I like Kit's idea. He's going to write a Yelp review on her service because she was terrible. By the way, Tim Dillon put up a great video memorializing and lamenting the loss of Lori Lightfoot to Chicago, along with his wicked commentary on her being a Yelper and trying to get a limousine driver fired for reasons that weren't actually legitimate or factual. So
yeah,
no,
so make
sir,
sure
no, sir.
I was like, okay, how do I incorporate that? Like, yes. Let her argue with the people in the drive-thru.
Oh, she totally would too. That's not what you ordered. No, sir. No, sir. You were out of line. It's losing.
Yeah, I gotta. My brain is going 100 miles an hour because I'm thinking, should I do a sequel? Should we make a series of these of Lori in the drive-thru?
I would continue to tune into Chicago Corner for those if you've got the bandwidth to do it. Absolutely.
Yeah, I just have. I gotta write some script.
Well,
write some scripts.
I don't think that. I would think that like they're probably going to. I think that series of videos is her job hopping because no one wants to keep her. Going to another job, reporting in from another job.
Yeah. Yes. I don't even know what to say now. I'm just like, I'm thinking that maybe I'm gonna cut off your cake shake privileges. I'm gonna find a way to make sure that nobody sells you cake shakes.
Kit's got some great ideas. I'm surprised, Kit, that Jimmy was shocked about the Yelp review story, because I would have thought that Jimmy had his finger on the pulse of Tim Dillon stuff, because they're both really, top comedians right now. But Kit's got a great idea for the next video, Ed. Have it be a Walmart.
Yeah, I had considered that. I mean, we could even use the standee,
Even more appropriate. I see her doing this. I see her writing parking tickets as Kit does. Yeah, we got to get that standee out of storage that we didn't have for our Christmas show. So Kit, get on that. Can you get the standee out of storage, because we want to be able to use it?
Yeah. So here we are, Endorsement-apalooza. All the endorsements are rolling out, and here we have CBS 2 Chicago from when the hell was this from? This was from the other day. No, yeah, from like yesterday, I think.
Paul Vallis and Brandon Johnson are stacking up and showcasing endorsements 4 weeks before they face off in the mayoral runoff. CBS 2 political investigator Dana Kozlov live at a very windy lakefront for us tonight. Dana, today's endorsements are all from leaders in the Black community.
Yeah, and Joe, and those include endorsements announced over the weekend. One longtime political expert says securing the city's Black vote could be key to the April 4th election. But
I just wanted to pause for a moment so we could see how breezy her hair is. Put a hat on.
That's why they call it Windy City.
And what is and what are those on that building over there, but on the right there? Does it say blue for CRC? What does that mean? Maybe somebody in the chat knows.
Yeah, I think that's the Blue Cross Blue Shield building.
Oh, that could be what that is.
I don't know what CRC stands for, though.
Somebody will tell us.
So,
how much weight these endorsements?
Jerry?
No, I was going to say we'll probably get a copyright strike for running this story, which I don't give a shit. But I wanted to congratulate you because the We Get Results show got I think 6 copyright strikes because of all the news clips that we shared that I had to appeal for fair use. Yeah.
Was all the news channels?
Yeah. All the news clips. And we also got a strike for using the little clip of the Wizard of Oz, even though it was satire. And
I told you the Lollipop Guild would come after us, Jerry.
And there's some claimant on YouTube called Merlin Music that is now claiming our Chicago Corner music theme at the top of the show, which was composed by a gentleman named Context, who has made it Creative Commons fair use. There are literally YouTube trolls that have no affiliation with a piece of music, and they will file claims so that they can take your monetization until your appeal goes through and shows that they were abusing the copyright claim system. Because I'm like, they're identifying this theme Buddha by Context as Can't Get Enough by Sosatru. And I went and listened to the Sosatru music, and it's it doesn't sound anything at all like our opening our opening show theme. So anyway, the copyright claimants are out in full force to try to get indie media producers, even though this clip that Ed is showing is fair use as news. We're commenting and we're putting it in a news perspective. So
yes, this is absolutely fair use. I'm going to back up just a few seconds.
To the April 4th election. But how much weight these endorsements carry, well, that's a bit up for debate.
Endorsements in the mayor's race aren't usually enough to swing it.
But endorsements can't usually hurt either, which is why both Brandon Johnson and Paul Vallis are quick to publicize them.
This endorsement is special to me because of Rod's history, his background.
Says Vallis of Sixth Ward Alderman Roderick Sawyer. Sawyer's the first of the other 7 losing mayoral candidates to make a runoff endorsement. Sawyer's backing comes just days after West Side Alderman Walter Burnett and former Secretary of State Jesse White also threw their support behind the former school's chief.
His values lined up with my values a little bit more than mine lined up with Commissioner Johnson's.
That says everything. That says everything. Why you came in last, Alderman Sawyer. Sorry.
Yeah, that's why you got no support. No votes. Because you suck. So your endorsement sucks. Your sucky endorsement is endorsing a sucky candidate. It's double suck.
It sucks squared.
Yes. It's absolutely successful in how much it sucks.
It sucks to the max.
Okay, that's enough.
Those endorsements from leaders in the Black community may matter. Former alderman and political expert Dick Simpson says Vallis needs to get a significant percentage of the city's Black vote to have a chance.
Race still matters in Chicago politics.
Johnson secured the...
Sadly, it still matters.
Yes, and go ahead. We have something to... Go ahead. I'll open the can of worms.
Backing of longtime popular West Side Congressman Danny Davis, even though Davis considers Vallis a friend.
Paul brings whatever attributes that he has.
Good for Danny Davis.
I would have Brandon Johnson any day.
Both candidates are quick to say they're reaching out to everyone.
Here's why. Because Brandon Johnson will serve all of Chicago. He will not just serve the private interests that are funneling millions of dollars as shadow donors into his campaign. It couldn't be clearer than that. I'm not looking at the color of Johnson's skin or Vallis's skin. I'm looking at who they will represent. I don't care that one is white or one is black. But when you realize that the abandoned neighborhoods across the city of Chicago are mostly the black ones, and you've got a candidate in Johnson who's probably going to serve the people as opposed to just the special interest that Vallis is going to be catering to, the choice could not be clearer. That's what equity is, serving everybody, not just the private donors.
One in the city.
This is not about securing the black vote alone. This is about making sure that the city of Chicago can grow together.
But Simpson says a potential runoff game changer could be who Mayor Lori Lightfoot and Congressman Jesus Chuy Garcia endorse, if they endorse anyone.
Their voters, if they were to switch to, say, Brandon Johnson, would be enough to elect him.
I'm betting that they will both endorse
Simpson
Vallis
believes in Alder-MANIA.
because Vallis will continue the status quo that the Democratic elite want to see in this city as far as carving out their piece of the pie that Vallis is going to gladly serve them. Okay? Because Lightfoot and Garcia serve the same political Democratic overlords that Rahm Emanuel served and Lightfoot. And Vallis is, why do you think Vallis is suddenly surged? Just because they know that he's going to be their proxy CEO for the city of Chicago.
Yeah. And everybody knows you can't run government like a business.
Well, I don't mean CEO.
Or they should know, but they don't.
I don't mean CEO is that he's going to run it as a business, but he's going to be he's going to be the CEO of Chicago, not running it as a business, but making sure that only business interests are served.
But Jerry, he will though. Is that he will run it like a business. And he'll run it in the ground is what he'll do if he does that.
Because we've seen his record in other cities. In fact, I've got a graphic that we can share in a moment when you've gotten through the report.
Yeah, so we're done with this report. I'm just going to jump over to the rest of Endorsement-Palooza here. So endorsements. Here we got Tony Preckwinkle endorsing Brandon Johnson. That happened. Was that today? Yeah, that was this morning. Outside the Cook County. What? The Cook County building. Preckwinkle is endorsing Brandon Johnson to run off for mayor. Preckwinkle says Johnson understands that real change happens from the bottom up. Notes they both came to public service as teachers, the ideal foundation for public service.
Yeah, okay. I'm not a big fan of Preckwinkle, but she's right about that.
And there was actually, I had a second quote from her too. You can hang on one moment while it loads. She says, and I don't do a Preckwinkle impression yet, but it's not that far off from Lightfoot, I don't think.
She has a much meeker voice than Lori Lightfoot. Yeah. And she talks quite quickly.
The time has come for a mayor who will be honest about the challenges we face. A mayor who won't tell us just what we want to hear, but what we need to know. A mayor who will fight for us in the city. It's time to elect Brandon Johnson.
She doesn't have the gravelly throat, though, Ed.
No, it's not. I'm falling into gravelly because I just haven't had a beverage right now.
Okay.
But yeah, you're correct. But also, I have to remind myself I'm not doing Lori anymore. In my subconscious, just kind of falls into the voice that has plagued and haunted me for months, possibly years.
She has kind of more of a nasally voice. It's kind of at a higher level of tone.
Yeah. I think you're getting. We might have to get you to do the voice for her in future impressions.
I like the way Pat thinks.
If Vallis wins, can we bring a lawsuit against him as mayor because he is not a resident of Chicago? I get in on that class action.
Apparently, Fritz Kagi tossed that out though. Even though the homestead exemption shows he really lives in Palos Heights.
Well, Kagi screwed us all over on property taxes too, so I'm not taking a lot of what he says as gospel.
But I agree with you. But look, the bottom line is Vallis basically used the loopholes in the law to make it look like he is a resident of Chicago when he's not. He only used the loophole so he could run for mayor to serve all these outside interests. Plain and simple. And that anybody supporting him and voting for him will not look at that as a point of, I can't vote for this guy because clearly he's a carpetbagger and he's a fraud. Plus, Ed, as promised, here's his record real quickly. Let's go off into this because this is important, along with the carpetbagging. Because I routinely get emails from people telling me, I'm so hard on Vallis and, Johnson's going to raise taxes. Here are the myths versus the facts. Mom. Myths. Paul Vallis has a record of success in improving schools for the public. Facts. Paul Vallis eradicated public schools in New Orleans and was fired from education jobs in Philadelphia, Bridgeport, Connecticut, and even Chicago for his failure. So quite naturally, he would come to Chicago and be anointed as the candidate for big business to continue to push through their goals for privatization. Myth. Paul Vallis is a fiscally responsible public servant who cares about balanced budgets for Chicago. Fact. As CPS CEO, Paul Vallis stopped pension payments to teachers for 10 years, causing higher property taxes to fill the gap left by his financial mismanagement. Myth. Paul Vallis will not raise my taxes. Fact. Breaking Chicago's promise to its retired teachers from 1995 through 2005, Paul Vallis created a budgetary time bomb that led to recent property and sales tax hikes. Myth. Paul Vallis has a reasonable plan to keep our community safe. Fact. His plan to address crime with more police spending, and remember, that's not what we talk about here, like reallocating resources. It's more police spending will be ineffective since we currently spend more on police per capita than any U.S. city, and 40% of 9/11 calls can be addressed by mental health professionals. When you take into view that we spend more police per capita than any U.S. city, Chicago should be the safest city in the country, shouldn't it? Myth.
Should be. Yeah.
Paul Vallis unites communities and respects all groups of people. Fact. Paul Vallis came out as a Republican when he came out as a Republican. I'm not going to say our own Barack Obama, but he came out as a Republican when Barack Obama became president. He is supported by January 6th insurrectionists. He is funded by Republican racists like Darren Bailey. Another one who decided to go set up shop at the John Hancock building when he was running for governor, despite the fact he talked about what a shithole Chicago is. Vallis wants to lie to children about our history and defund our communities for record police budgets. Do you have a friend who heard Paul Vallis will be a good mayor? Share this with them. Invest in Chicago's people, invest in Chicago schools, invest in all our communities. Brandon is better for Chicago. So clearly that comes from Brandon Johnson's campaign, but it does share and compare and contrast the myths with the facts.
Thank you for that, Jerry. And also, and I should have dug up that article. Yeah, I'm very happy that you share that with us this evening, because I think on every episode of Chicago Corner going up until the runoff, we should have a segment called Why Paul Vallis Sucks.
Well, we have to be careful of that, Ed, because we might be trying to get Mr. Vallis to come on the show.
Hey,
I don't know if that's
he can come on and prove to us that he doesn't, but I mean, it's kind of a steep. It's a steep climb, Paul.
I mean, I was asked by a colleague well, you know what? I don't want to say anymore because I don't want to spoil the tease for next Tuesday. But as if it's not clear who we have potentially booked, but.
All right. So so more endorsements here. This one came out today as well. Alderman Andre Vasquez, who won his re-election and was a staunch supporter for Jesus Chuy the Stash Garcia, has endorsed Brandon Johnson.
Well, at least he got that right.
Yeah. So while I won't predict that. I won't predict that Chuy Garcia is going to follow suit here. It is good news that at least somebody who supported him is reading the writing on the wall. So there he is. I think Kira knows him.
She does.
So maybe we'll have him on the show at a future time to talk to him. It'd be cool to have to get his perspectives on this runoff. I think
we actually tentatively had him booked a month or two ago, but there were scheduling conflicts to come on and before talk about his race for re-election in his ward.
So There he is. Let's see. Let's see what he had to say about him here. He says, in the runoff, it is a very clear choice as to what's better for the city, right? You can decide to actually move backwards in ways that have failed us when it comes to public safety, when it comes to investing in education, Vasquez said, or we can move forward and try things and find solutions to problems that have not been solved in Chicago's history. Brandon is somebody who comes from an organizer background, and I think that's necessary for the role, especially if you're talking about what could be a very divided council. And there he is posting on his Twitter account. So I guess he had endorsed yesterday on Twitter. So there's that endorsement. There's more, because this, Jerry, is Endorsement-apalooza on Chicago Corner. Who are Chicago's Alder people endorsing for mayor?
Before we go into Alder people, though, I would be remiss in saying that there's an endorsement that I haven't seen yet announced.
Yes,
and I think we need to talk about it real quickly.
I think that's probably a good idea.
Okay. Now, my favorite candidate, Jamal Green, announced on social media that he's not ready to give an endorsement yet because he had both Vallis and Johnson over during the weekend to discuss his ideas, which I think is great because I think that obviously Jamal has a lot of great ideas. He claims on social media that they stole a lot of his ideas. I don't know that the ideas are specifically belonging to one person. I think a lot of people share ideas, but that's fine. He proposed them. He got a lot of attention for them in the media. His current position is that Vallis has promised that he will support a public bank. Johnson has not done that yet. And I feel like Jamal is bracing people for his decision to endorse Palos Paul simply on the public bank issue. And you know what? Everything doesn't hinge on the public bank issue.
But Jerry, that said, Brandon Johnson or anyone supporting Brandon Johnson or anyone working with Brandon Johnson, if you're hearing my voice, get him to support a public bank. Let's stop screwing around here.
Well,
we all need to work together.
We do, but here's the other thing that concerns me. So part of me thinks like, look, Jamal's a smart guy. He wants a big seat at the table to hopefully be able to have his voice in the ear of whoever's mayor to put forth the policies that are very important that aren't just about Jamal, but are about helping everybody across the city of Chicago. So I thought maybe the reason he's hedging right now, and look, this could be a little bit of a last ditch attempt for limelight and attention on social media, keeping us in suspense. Maybe the reason he's not giving an endorsement yet is because he wants to make sure, as a smart tactician or strategy, that Mr. Johnson will be amenable to a lot of the things that Jamal is proposing that are really important. Because you know what, though? I don't think, despite the fact Jamal has said that Paul has made overtures that he's going to support a public bank. Yeah, he could say he's going to support it, and then you can endorse him, and he gets in and he doesn't give it to you. What has Vallis done ethically that shows that he follows his word in light of the myths
Pat
versus?
Brannigan's got it right.
Yeah. Vallis is a privatizer. He will never support a public bank. He's trying to fool that young man. Yeah. So my mind is like, oh God, I hope that Jamal is like thinking like, well, I'm going to make it seem like I'm going to endorse Paul so that Brandon gets on board and listens to me. My gut is telling me, though, ear to the ground to a lot of other people I've been talking to and hearing from on social media, that Jamal might be a little bit upset at the fact that Brandon Johnson surpassed him. There could be some ego involved. I hope that's not the case, because if it were the case, then it shows that there might be an immaturity that a lot of people have called out regarding age that is in play here that shouldn't be any part of this equation. It shouldn't just be about the public bank. I said, I think on last Friday's show, the fact that Jamal got the attention he got and came in after a millionaire, an incumbent, a congressman, and a guy with Palos Paul's money speaks volumes to the fact that people are paying attention to Jamal as they should, and that he has a loud voice that people agree with. He came in after the millionaire, Willie Wilson, okay, who had money to spend. All I'm saying is that, look, and part of me feels like, oh, I'm not supposed to say this because I'm an older white guy from the North Side. I hope that doesn't disqualify me or suggest that I'm a progressive racist telling a young black man what he should do. I don't care who you endorse, Jamal. You know I love you. We've been very supportive, and we've been very, very impressed by your campaign. I think at this moment, though, you need to maybe think about Paul's record, even despite the fact you claim he and both Johnson have been friends to you in previous campaign cycles, and look at Mr. Vallis's record. Because my perception is Mr. Vallis is one of those candidates who will say anything and stand for nothing. He will make promises to you on what he's going to do. You will endorse him, and then you'll be left holding the bag when he doesn't follow through on them. If it's just about the public bank, yeah, maybe Johnson has got to step up and address that. And if we have him on our show, I'm going to ask him what his thoughts are on a public bank. And if he's adverse to a public bank, I'm going to ask him why. But this is not just about the public bank. This is about a candidate who's going to represent all of Chicago equitably. And the overtures that you don't think CTU should have that much power. CTU doesn't have enough power in representing its teachers. Most of Chicago relies on teachers to teach their kids and babysit for them and not pay them what they're worth or take away their pensions. I'm all for CTU because I think that they are very undervalued, and I think that they are vilified for the wrong reasons. And I don't think as a union they would have too much power or as much power as the privatization interest that Mr. Vallis is going to bring into Chicago as he carves it up, while continuing to abandon your community on the south and west sides. That's all I'm going to say. With all respect, get the endorsement out, and I hope you make a decision that might not end up coming to haunt you in the future if you are bamboozled by Mr. Vallis the way those of us were bamboozled by Lori Lightfoot, who promised progressive reform when she ran the first time. And by the way, you endorsed her. We all make mistakes. Okay? I think big enough to say I hope I'm wrong about Jamal's decisions, and maybe leaning towards Paul over Johnson. But I hope he proves me wrong. I hope this is a big troll. I hope he's just building up suspense and he's going to say I'm endorsing Johnson. Because you know what? I spoke with Brandon and we talked about things that are important to me. I know that Mr. Johnson is going to represent all of Chicago, not just the privatization interests that Vallis seems to be aligned with, that don't want to be known as they pour millions of dollars into his campaign war chest. So that's it. That endorsement's missing, and we're waiting for it, Jamal. And I really, really hope it doesn't end up hobbling you in the future if you make a choice I'm afraid you're going to make for the wrong reasons. So that's it.
Yeah. Well, I think some candidates they treat these races and endorsements as a game. And I think Kid had even mentioned that in the live chat there. This is not a game. Okay? I understand you're gonna wheel and deal for endorsement support, but I want you all to look at the numbers one more time. I'm gonna zoom in just a little bit here so we can get a closer look at who ended up where here. Now, who's got just over 2%? Jamal. Who has almost 2%? Cam Buckner. Cam Buckner got about as much support as you did. And he's not doing this.
Yep.
So the question is, what are you waiting for? I understand that there is, and it's not our decision to make, obviously. We're just providing some insight and some analysis here. But I'm saying there's a bunch of people already throwing their support out there. I would, if you want to become part of the next mayoral campaign, Obviously, you're going to do your own math and figure out who has a better chance of coming out ahead with your extra 2% of support if you get your voters behind that. But the truth is, you didn't get the youth vote to show up. Are you going to get them to show up this time?
Yeah.
I understand it's not your entire responsibility, but maybe you're tuned in a little better and positioned better to get some of the people who didn't show up to actually show up in the runoff.
That's what we need J-Mal to focus on, because Pat says, Jerry, you need to tell him to look at what people have actually done and not listen to what they say. I can't tell J-Mal to do anything, nor do I expect him to listen. It's not my job to tell.
We can't tell him to do anything, and he shouldn't have to listen to us even if we make recommendations.
Absolutely not.
We're just saying, look, this is how we see it. Okay,
Right.
I'm seeing opportunities for J-Mal in a Brandon Johnson campaign where I don't see opportunities in a Paul Vallis campaign.
Very interesting you bring up opportunities.
Or administration.
There have been some overtures on social media that perhaps, and I hope I'm wrong, J-Mal's decision hinges on opportunities for him in a Vallis administration from a business perspective, since he's an entrepreneur. That scares me very much.
And from just an opportunity perspective for Brandon Johnson's campaign, I think it would behoove you to go after J-Mal Green and get him on your side to basically be, I don't know if it's right to use the phrase pitbull, but he really would be, he'd be your Boba Fett, you know, he'd be your Mandalorian, you know, for your administration.
He would be his Bobby Kennedy.
Bobby Kennedy, okay.
The way JFK used his brother Bobby Kennedy to be the pit bull to kick asses and get shit in the line. Absolutely. Because that's what I love about him.
If you could get him to be the advocate for you.
Yes.
If you could get him to go out and make the deals that you made, that your group may or may not be able to do on your own. He's connected in ways you aren't, probably. I'm just saying, why not use that as an advantage to get things to happen faster and better in the city?
Especially on the south sides. I'm sorry, especially on the south and west sides that need the kind of advocacy that J-Mal has been pushing for. Okay. Look, that can't be the main priority across the city of Chicago, because as we talk about equity, it's got to be equal. But that abandoned portion of the city has not been treated equitably, which is why we really need to hustle and get things on a fair footing on those sides of town. Now, Kit shares, he came in 6th place. He's getting his name out there, but Vallis could try and build a coalition to secure all the wards.
I guess.
I really don't see Vallis caring a shit about all the wards. With all due respect, I don't think Vallis is worried about wards on the south and west sides.
So we're back to who's endorsing who. And before I get into this article, I just want to mention my thoughts on a Lori Lightfoot endorsement, Jerry. And I'm happy to hear your perspective on this too. But while I've been thinking about it, because I mean, obviously you guys saw the parody version of Lori Lightfoot and who she's probably leaning toward. But the truth is, a Lori Lightfoot endorsement could be a blessing or a curse, because a lot of people did show up and vote for her. But the question is, why? Are they just not paying attention and want the status quo?
Well, here's why, Ed. When you see the map that we shared last week about who won specific parts of the city, Lightfoot won primarily on the south sides. Because of race, because I think that people see she's the incumbent mayor, she's a black woman. I don't know how many people were paying attention on the south side to what Johnson was proposing, or J-Mal either, as they should have. It shocks me that the most abandoned communities in the city of Chicago voted towards Lori, even though she came in with such a low percentage. It also speaks to the fact that not a lot of people came out for the vote. Plus, this year's voter turnout was 32%, which is only up 2% from the last election. So we're still dealing with not enough people coming out to vote.
Now, and here's a little more thoughts on this. Just my speculation is that if people were not getting very well informed on the South and West sides, and all they're hearing from is mainstream media telling them it's a 3-person race, or maybe they didn't even know who Brandon Johnson was until he finally started showing up in the polls and the news started talking about him. And they're like, well, I don't know who Brandon Johnson is, but I know who Lori Lightfoot is, and I know who Paul Vallis are, and I don't want Paul Vallis, so I'm voting for Lori because Paul Vallis scares the crap out of me.
Well, it's interesting too, Ed, at one of the last media appearances she did with reporters, remember when she told people not to come out and vote unless they were voting for Lightfoot? The only candidates she referenced were Vallis and Garcia and herself. Not even she realized how important Johnson or Green were to that degree also to reference other candidates. She was looking at the establishment candidates, the media anointed establishment candidates along with herself. So there you go.
That was by design. So now that we have a situation where Lori's not in it anymore, where are those voters going to turn? I think more of them are going to turn toward Brandon, but we really aren't going to know until we get through a couple debates. Well, we got one debate tomorrow, and I imagine they'll maybe do one or two more. If we're lucky.
They've got the public safety forum next Tuesday, and also I'm noticing some stuff in the chat that's very, very important. While I was grandstanding. Good point, Pat. As we're talking about public safety, Vallis will probably privatize the police, so mercenaries will be policing Chicago. He will sell our street and sidewalks, so we pay tolls for walking down them. OCP, Detroit, RoboCop. That's the kind of Chicago I see under Vallis with the privatization.
I'd buy that for $1.
Vallis will most likely sell our parks. He's a privatizer and ruined the schools with more help from Rahm. Yeah, that's my concern again. He'll be Rahm Emanuel 3.0, but 3 inches taller.
Yeah. Hey, I don't understand why you guys didn't like the Amazon boxes in the middle of the park. I thought those were pretty cool.
Oh, thank Christ he's gone.
I can't believe they did that.
Yeah. Oh, well,
the Amazon boxes.
That's the kind of privatization. People think it's absurd to even suggest that, but we've already started. Okay, is it absurd to suggest that Vallis will privatize the Chicago Police Department? Is it really absurd when you see how they decided to put fucking Amazon lockers in our parks?
Dude, those uniforms will look like NASCAR uniforms when he's done.
That's right. Okay, yeah, Pat, yeah, this is what
Chicago
I hope.
Police, sponsored by Red Bull.
Bottom line, Hope Green realizes Vallis is a bullshitter. I hope so, because, look, I admire the insight of youth, but as an older guy with experience who's more cynical and much more seasoned, my bullshit meter is a little bit more finely tuned than I think maybe Jay Malls is, and seeing the best in what Vallis is promising that he will probably not deliver on, along with the example that Lightfoot set with not delivering on all her promises to get Green's and everyone else's endorsement. Another one, Kathy Powers, Vallis's past comments called critical race theory divisive and that it does damage, right? Yeah, that's a problem. I had a debate with someone about critical race theory who didn't understand it's not about shaming white people into feeling bad about what previous white people did, but making sure that people don't forget. And the example that I brought up was, do Jewish people let people forget the Holocaust? No, nor should they. Nor should they, so it doesn't happen again. So whitewashing history, the antidote to whitewashing history, and a lot of the history that we aren't taught because, our overlords don't want us to know it, is to make sure that, Black history and all of the inequities, the crimes, the outright abuses that previous generations of Black people have suffered are not forgotten. It's not to shame people or white people into being ashamed of their race. It's about, we need to remember this because it can never happen again. And unfortunately, the fact that so much racism, prejudice, and bigotry is still a part of our 21st century society shows that no one's taken those lessons to heart, or wants to move on. Want to say something?
And here's the short version for people who have a problem with critical race theory. Just call it history, because that's what it is.
Yeah. Things
that happened and that are not whitewashed, so to speak. I guess that is pun intended. By history written by the victors is, I think, the phrase that a lot of people say. And so when you have people who are invested in you not knowing what happened, they get to write the history books. And they're doing it today, actually. You'll find that there's only a handful of book publishers that are getting their marching orders for what's allowed in books by a certain number of organizations who basically have a stranglehold on the school system, on the national school system's book curriculum. So, but that's a story for another time.
Well, look, this is a branding problem. Don't use critical race theory as your branding. Don't use defund the police. It seems like those that are branding these movements are literally shooting themselves in the dick by choosing branding people can seize on, and then basically deplatform them or marginalize them or suggest that they want absolute anarchy or they're racist because they just want Black history taught. That's not what it's about.
Right. Or you get activists who come up with these phrases, and all of a sudden that they are adopted by the opposition because it is something that they can use as a dog whistle to argue against making any kind of positive change in things that matter. So when people say, look, we want to correct the history books and make sure people understand what actually happened so that you can learn from history and not repeat it. But there are people who would rather that people keep their heads stuck in the sand, and so they go and find people out on the edges. Maybe somebody wrote a book, and then they have a phrase, critical race theory, which sounds all weird and spooky and scary, and so they use it as a dog whistle
to delegitimize what the concerns are there.
Yeah, and that's what that is. So here we are.
He doesn't live here, Kathy. He just sleeps here.
Yeah, it's true.
He campaigns.
Who are Chicago's Alder people endorsing for mayor? With the countdown to April 4th runoff election, we're keeping note of who is supporting Vallis or Johnson. This comes from Block Club Chicago. I'm half doing a Bill Curtis impression right now. I don't know
if you wish to do a Bill Curtis impression, Ed, you should have told me that you wanted to do Bill Curtis. I am Bill Curtis, the voice of Chicago, previous Chicago media.
Yes.
It's kind of
we're telling the story.
It kind of has a cadence like William Shatner, just a little, but a bassier.
A little bit, but he's way more smooth in his delivery.
That's true. He is a much smoother broadcaster.
Chicago mayoral race is down to 2 candidates, and they're lining up endorsements. Paul Vallis, former Chicago Public Schools CEO and Cook County Commissioner Brandon Johnson, prevailed in a crowded field February 28th to advance to the runoff April 4th. Some Alder people had already thrown their hats behind Vallis or Johnson, while others are jumping on the bandwagon after backing one of the other 7 candidates in round 1 of the election. Mayoral candidates, blah, 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 blah. Let's scroll down. Okay. Paul Vallis was endorsed on the February 28th general election by Tom Tunney, Brendan Riley, Brian Hopkins, and Anthony Napolitano. After the general, he was endorsed by Walter Burnett and Roderick Sawyer for the runoff. We covered that earlier. Okay. That's a nice picture. We'll have to grab that one for an overlay sometime.
Yeah.
Brandon looks like he's having a chuckle. Okay. Brandon Johnson got endorsed by Alderman Rosanas Rodriguez Sanchez, Pat Dowell, Matt Martin, Maria Haddon, Daniel Lispada, Jeanette Taylor, Byron Sicha Lopez, and Carlos Ramirez Rosa. And then we just heard about Andre Vasquez. Other notable not noticeable, notable endorsements. Jesse White endorsed Vallis, former Illinois Secretary of State. Walter Burnett, we heard about that. Gary Chico, former state education superintendent.
Let's not forget that Vallis also had an affiliation with Governor Rauner.
Yeah.
Another failure of a civic leader.
Oh, and let's not forget that Vallis got an endorsement by bankruptcy lawyer. What's his name? Peter Francis Geraci.
Yes, Kathy. If he wants to
come on.
A residency claim, he has to give up his homestead rebate. Willie, Woody, maybe we should ask him that if we can get him on the show. Why isn't anybody asking him that? That's a great question, Kathy. That's a great question.
Well, he's not going to, because what's his name said he didn't have to.
Yeah, Kagi said he didn't have to.
Kagi.
And Kagi said, "Oh well, no, he's been here. He's been here enough time." Yeah, to basically, I'm surprised he didn't put his wife's wedding dress in the basement of the apartment he's renting, the way that Rahm Emanuel did to ensure that the Supreme Court would allow him to run, despite the fact he wasn't really living here. Again, rules for thee, not for me. If you know someone, if you're privileged, we'll toss you a break. You get a mulligan. Anybody else? No, we're not. It's not going to be tolerated. But this just speaks to the inequity of the political system as far as it comes to the elites who've got money, who've got people supporting them, who can afford to run, and the rest of the schmucks that are stuck having to hold their nose and vote for the lesser of whatever evils there are because they can't figure out how to fund a campaign to actually, run as a third party candidate and actually do the shit that everybody needs done. Although I think that, Johnson is more aligned with that. So I hope I'm right about that. I think I'm right about that. I think we're right about it. He was my second choice next to Jamal. So I'm glad that he is in the runoff. I mean, I'm not disappointed. I mean, there was the good news and the bad news with last week's election. Two bits of good news. One, Lori Lightfoot was out. Two, Johnson was in the runoff. The bad news was Vallis was in the runoff. I was speculating it was going to be Vallis and Garcia. I'm glad we didn't have that race because I never would have wanted to vote for. I probably would have abstained. I don't know that I would have voted, but I'm ready to vote for Johnson.
Yeah, I got that prediction right. I don't know how, but I got it right.
Well,
I figured Vallis was going to be in there. I was like, okay, he's got way too much money and support, and people are scared as shit about crime. I'm like, okay, it's going to be.
Yeah,
it was going to be him versus whoever managed to make it through the rest of the competition, and I was like, I mean, I liked Jamal, but at a certain point, I was like, I don't see him getting the support that he really needs at this point. I'm like, I'm not hearing radio ads. I'm not seeing any TV ads running. I mean, he was doing a lot of live streams on Facebook. I'm like, okay, maybe he was appealing to his base, but very few people, at least in the youth demographic, showed up either early or on election day.
I think he was relying on the youth vote by harnessing the power of TikTok because so many young people are on TikTok. And the only reason I was speculating was going to be Garcia was because I thought that the vote for a black candidate was going to be spoiled because there were so many black candidates, and because Garcia is the establishment Democratic candidate that I felt the national Democratic elite wanted as a hedge against Lightfoot because they saw how vulnerable she was. I just thought it was like a shoo-in because he also swaggered into town so confident and so arrogant that he was going to get it, despite the fact that he wasn't smart enough to take the teachers union endorsement early on if he really wanted it. So he didn't really want it. He's got his congressional seat to go back to. It would have been it would have been a shift sideways, not upward for him. And he was still going to be fine either way, serving the same overlords that Lori Lightfoot serves and that Paul Vallis will serve.
So finishing this endorsement article, Rep. Danny Davis went for Johnson. We saw that. Tony Preckwinkle, we mentioned that earlier. U.S. Representative Jonathan Jackson and Delia Ramirez. State Senator Christina Pacioni-Zayas, if I pronounce that correctly, and State Reps Lakeisha Collins, Mary Flowers, Will Guzzardi, and Lillian Jimenez also endorsed Johnson. So that is all the endorsement palooza for this evening. And it's about time for other stories. Holy crap, we got to the end of the election coverage today.
Very good. A lot to cover. I'm glad that you chose to focus on the ward races because, we hadn't had the big news last week was the mayoral election going into the runoff, but the ward races were important too. So I was really happy to see when you're putting show notes together. By the way, too, Kit had wanted to come on tonight, and I'm like, I think we got a really full show. So I'm glad to see Kit participating in the live chat. And Kit, welcome. But you saw there was like a lot that Ed had prepared that,
I was like, I don't know where we're going to wedge him in here. I'm like, there was so much I wanted to catch up on with the Alder-MANIA races.
Yeah.
I'm like, damn. But we'll
three
definitely have
voices. Yeah, we'll have Kit on soon. It's just, but we have so much to say. It's like the show would then probably go to 2 a.m. if we had Kit here. So,
yeah. So I mean, because here we are, 9:45, and we're just getting to other stories.
Yeah.
And I thought this one was worth covering at least for a few minutes because, it's things that we look at here. We want people to have a decent living wage and good work environment, right? So here we are at the United Center.
United Center concession workers fighting for better wages and benefits walked off the job as the Bulls were playing a game. And just days before the Big Ten tournament comes to the UC, they held a one-day strike yesterday, but say more picketing is possible this week. The food service workers held the walkout following unsuccessful talks with Compass Levy. One longtime employee told us what they're fighting for.
We've been negotiating our contract for about 3 years now, and we're demanding better health insurance, better wages, a pension, and it seems like the company is just not taking us seriously.
Well, the Big Ten tournament is scheduled to start Wednesday at the UC. The workers.
Oh, we got a Scabby the Rat sighting here. That's always cool.
Say they're prepared to continue picketing this week. Now, in a statement, Levy accused the union leadership of withholding a vote on an enhanced contract because of other key points they couldn't agree on. The company says they've been to the bargaining table more than 20 times and plan to bargain again tomorrow.
Okay. I mean, come on, Levy, you got to understand that workers are waking up and people understand the value of their labor. And you need to start recognizing that. You can't just take all the profits for yourself and live in your little mansions and stuff and just let everybody, all the people under you continue to suffer with substandard wages and work conditions. So this is no brainer here. You got to share the wealth or you're going to get more of these things happening.
Yep.
Now this was a job action. It's not a full-on strike, but they did. Let's read the article. I think they mentioned what I was about to say. United Center concessions workers in one-day walkout. Sunday's job action by members of Unite Here Local 1 comes as the venue approaches the 5-day Big Ten men's basketball tournament, also known as March Madness. So here they are. We just saw video. Concessions workers at the United Center staged a one-day walkout Sunday that affected food and beverage service during the afternoon Chicago Bulls game. The brief strike by members of Unite Here Local 1 was designed to ratchet up pressure on their employer for this week's Big Ten men's basketball tournament, which runs Wednesday through next Sunday at the United Center. The workers have authorized an open-ended strike that could be called any time. So they're basically saying, look, we walked out. This is what you're going to have to endure if you don't meet our demands. and it's going to last more than a day. So Unite here is negotiating with concessions operator Levy, part of Compass Group. A company spokesman said fans could get food and beverages at Sunday's game against the Indiana Pacers, but that menus were limited and no service was available in the private dining spaces, Queenie's Stadium Club and Kettle One Club. So yeah, I mean, look, you want to provide an entertainment venue, you got to start paying your workers.
Yep.
You can't have it all. Not anymore. That game's over. The next bargaining session is scheduled for Tuesday. Union members said their demand for a pension plan is a main sticking point. The workers need a pension. The company had a chance to remedy the situation, and it has chosen not to, said Local 1 official Maria Hernandez. The company said in a statement it has a pension offer on the table and has offered significant improvements in wages and benefits. Levy said the union's main demands are card check neutrality proposal and company contributions toward a union-run health fund. Card check neutrality could help the union recruit more members. Now, I saw that and I was like, wait a minute, what the hell is card check neutrality? So I looked it up. And I found this article from an Iowa Law Review from 2004, but the abstract basically explains it here. It says the article is the first comprehensive treatment and neutrality agreements, which are themselves the labor movement's new approach to organizing displaces NLRB, National Labor Relations Board, supervised elections with negotiated agreements that provide one, for employers to remain neutral during an upcoming union campaign, and two, in most instances, for employees to decide if they want to be represented through signing authorization cards rather than through a secret ballot election. So it's a combination of things. It says the company cannot interfere in an attempt to organize a union, and it authorizes people to just sign onto a card saying, yeah, I'll do it, instead of doing a secret ballot, which actually makes it easier to form unions. Because when you do secret ballots, you get a lot of people who just don't want to do it, or sometimes you get shenanigans like what happened in Amazon, but we won't go down that road right now. So that's what a card check is. Back to the story here. Hernandez, however, said neither of those two subjects are in the union's current proposal. Okay, well, I guess add that to the next set of demands next time you meet. But it's interesting that they mentioned it but didn't include it. The Big Ten is coming, and the company knows what we want, but we are prepared to continue picketing if we have to. Tawanda Murray, a concessions worker at the United Center for 28 seasons, said in a statement the union provided. Support unions. Look, you have power.
You are the union. A lot of people think, the unions are being run by outsiders. Yeah, in some cases, sadly, that does happen. There are bad actors in unions, but if you form a union, you are supposed to be the union so that doesn't happen. And that's who they're there to protect, their workers, the workers that make that union up. The teachers union, what is the importance of the teachers union? To protect the people that you're entrusting your kids' future and education with. That's an important job. And the purpose of their union is to make sure that they're fairly and equitably accommodated and compensated for that. What's so wrong about that? Why should they need a union to begin with? Why are they devalued? Why is any worker devalued so much that they need to rely on a union to make sure that they get a fair living wage in the greatest country in the world?
So you organize because you were stronger when you work in a group to negotiate your work terms, your pay, your work environment, those types of situations. Obviously. And we know that this happens, that sometimes you'll have leadership in some of the larger union organizations that might be slightly corrupt or slanted. And so I understand why people are hesitant to want to start or join a union, and why some people have different opinions on that. But in general, unions are a good thing because they provide an important representation of workers in a work environment.
Absolutely.
Okay.
I also
that's
want to
that story.
I just saw something come across my social media feed that I want to share because it's important. I'm sorry. When we're done with this story, I just didn't want to lose track of this.
We're done with this.
Okay.
Yeah.
So our friend of the show, Jimmy Sunderland, who has been snowed in the mountains of San Bernardino in California.
Mm-hmm.
Jimmy, I don't know if this has happened yet or will happen, but she's going on Kim Iverson's show tonight to talk about the fact that that area of San Bernardino in California still needs help because the governor of California has basically left everybody living there to fend for themselves. She's been reporting on social media all week long the fact that they're snowed in, they're blocked off. I think that there was a grocery store roof that had collapsed, which prevented the access to food and supplies and groceries for people who are stranded there. I barely had my attention on this story because I didn't realize that parts of California could get that much snow to cause that much of a safety hazard.
Oh, it looks like she was on already.
Check it out.
Yeah.
Make sure.
Yeah, if you want, she's up in the San Bernardino mountain area where they got like 12 feet of snow.
Yeah,
and I think so 2 hours ago, about an hour and a half ago, she was on Kim Iverson. So she's at Jimmy Saves World on Twitter. You can see her updates in there. I believe she said, she just 3 hours ago, she says, never been so happy to see a John Deere in my life. Crying person emoji. Huge thanks to this guy, Sean, who rented this plow and got us out. I've never seen a community come together like this. It's so heartening because they've been dealing with supply shortages and not being able to get around and stuff. They were basically walking on foot through heavy snow to get to different areas where they might be able to get food supplies that were flown or dropped in because I think their local grocery store, the roof had so much snow on it that it was caved in and they weren't letting people in there. And so like Jimmy has a couple videos she posted for the situations as she was experiencing it. And then it's just, it's kind of crazy. Here we go. Oh, maybe we can play this one. Let's see.
So let me really quickly say for those watching, this is not Chicago news, but we are a community, and Jimmy, she's one of our favorite YouTubers that we've had a chance to along with Uncle Warren. They do the Extra Bullish show. So when I saw this, I'm like, I wanted to make sure, to get some attention to what Jimmy and people in and here's the other thing. I didn't realize California had the potential to get that much snow. They get snow in the mountains where they ski. So you would imagine that California should have some kind of plowing infrastructure. Apparently they don't, that they're relying on other people to come in because Newsom and, the government there cannot go in and serve its residents, constituents.
Well, you have some of those rural areas where people are more or less on their own, and it's more than obvious that it's going to be an issue when you have severe weather conditions like 12 feet of snow, and you can't take yourself out because it's coming down so fast.
Well, I want to say this too. I'm very heartened that Kim Iverson gave Jimmy a platform to go on because for those of us on indie media with small channels, that's the kind of boost that we need to get more people watching our channels and also paying attention to the issues that we're talking about locally. So I'm very happy for her. I'm glad that she's able to share with everybody what's happening out there. There's a larger story there. It's not just about Jimmy, but she's using the power of her position as an indie broadcaster who was in the middle of this story to hopefully help the other residents in her community also that were struggling with this being snowed in like this.
Yeah, so let's see what her latest. This is from actually 2 days ago. So let's see what she has to say here.
Here's our local store. We have a little bit of food right there. They said that they moved the food over to the school over there, but they've got to plow that area now, so nobody can get food.
And this is just another day in Chicago during winter. We're prepared for it, but they're not prepared for up there, clearly. So,
well, when you basically live in like mountains and forest area, and your road system is typically either like a single lane dirt road or some other type of normally not so easily passable thing, and you get 12 feet of snow. It's understandable that some people are going to be so snowed in to the point where it's hard to get supplies in and stuff. But it's really bad when the grocery stores and the places that you rely on for supplies are not prepared for it.
Yeah,
and their roof caves in, and they can't be of service for people who, even if they can make it to the however number of miles they have to walk to get supplies. So, I mean, yeah, you can stock up for, you can stock up on stuff, to an extent, but at a certain point you're going to run low on things. So,
here's our local store. We have a little bit of food right there. They said that they moved the food over to the school over there, but they've got to plow that area now, so nobody can get food.
So dumb.
So they still have to plow the road to the school, and then they have to plow the entire field, and then they're going to set up food. So anybody that's already came here are getting food from this right here, Magic 7, which is our local liquor store. My husband uploaded some video of inside the store. It's pretty empty. They're just handing out what they can. They're not allowing any private companies or citizens to come up and offer food.
Why? Why would they?
The owner.
The cops don't want to get sued, is what it comes down to.
Oh, Jesus Christ!
It's so stupid, because they all the police in that area were telling people on Twitter was all the things that people aren't allowed to do, and we're like, let people airdrop some freaking supplies in there. People were posting like screenshots of flight trackers watching people's planes basically circling around the area and then leaving. And I'm like, what the hell? I mean, they have the technology now. They literally have drones that could have flown in and dropped supplies. Maybe they're busy using those drones somewhere else where they sent billions of dollars. Just saying.
Of the store has some people at the bottom of the hill waiting to bring up donations for us, but they won't. The stuff that's at the school right now, she says, are military rations, so the dry food stuff. So nothing, that we don't already have. Pretty much a lot of us have at our own houses, preparing just in case it gets worst of the worst. So, but they're handing out a little bit of food here and there. I mean, we got some items. She hooked me up with bread and eggs. Awesome. And I think we got a little bit of condensed canned milk, right? So we can use for some creamer. We walked by some neighbors' houses on the way, knocked on the doors. There's a couple other people that were walking around as well, going to neighbors' houses offering dog food and cat food. So our neighbors are okay for now. I got to give it to our town. This little community right here, VOE and Cedar Pines Park, very small community next to Crestline and Lake Arrowhead and all of them, which are really getting the help right now. The richer, more prominent areas.
That's where it cuts off, unfortunately. I kind of wanted to hear the rest of that conversation.
I just DM'd Jimmy on Twitter, and shared with her that we're talking about this right now. And I shared, I don't know that she's available right now or camera ready. Maybe she is. Maybe she'll jump in.
But anyway, so that video was from 2 days ago, and we see that somebody is at least helping to dig them out. So that's positive results there, and that was 3 hours ago. And then maybe we can after the show we can tune into Kim Iverson's and see what Jimmy had as far as an update goes.
Yeah.
The live chat. Yeah.
Hey, Jimmy.
Yeah, but I think it's important. It's important to cover these events and talk about our friends in independent media who are dealing with the same kind of stuff that we deal in every city. I mean, we didn't. I can't remember. Was it 1978? Is the last time we maybe got something like 12 feet of snow in Chicago. Yeah. But there was a time, was it maybe less than a decade ago, that they shut down Lakeshore Drive and all those cars got stranded. So imagine that, but like a mountain town.
Yeah, now that was amazing. I'd never seen that before. Cars were buried up to the roofs on Lakeshore Drive, and it was pretty apocalyptic. But the snow melted a couple days later, and again, we're more prepared here in Chicago with our infrastructure, our plows, and everything else. But it was a moment where I'd never seen that. I think since the '67 blizzard in Chicago was the last time we'd seen that much snow that we were able to recover from, but not like people living in towns like Jimmy is in that are, kind of they're brain fart. Isolated and secluded. That's the word I was looking for. Yeah.
All right.
So there you go.
Yeah.
Shout out.
Yeah, I'm glad you reminded me about that, because I'm like, yeah, we got friends dealing with all kinds of weather situations right now. And that's one of the worst ones going on right now. And it's crazy to me that our federal government is wasting resources on a proxy war instead of helping people at home. And this is one of the most obvious examples of where they have failed our country. It should have been a handful of days for them to have supply drones or some type of airdrops to drop supplies. They could have had some kind of plow system or some kind of mobilization to help people clear roads and get around. Because, I mean, even though they feel like they're not responsible for making sure that these people get out of the mountains or be able to get around, you have to have some kind of responsibility for the citizens in your country or your state.
Absolutely. By the way, for those that don't think that we're always juggling multiple that we're just like are here, shooting our mouths off during our broadcast, I got a direct message on Facebook. Do you know who? I don't know that you know who Erica Nanton is, Ed. Erica is a friend of mine who I first met on Amara Enya's campaign. She was a volunteer. Erica now serves as a community organizer on the south side of Chicago. She was a volunteer on Mr. Green's campaign. She'd like to join us on Friday to talk about endorsements and other pressing issues facing the south side of Chicago as an organizer. And I invited her and said, yes, join us Friday so we can talk more about that, along with our observations regarding the endorsement or lack thereof right now that we hope is forthcoming. I said to her, I'm like, I hope that we'll be talking about the endorsement on Friday and be happy about it. But, I said, yeah, let's plan on it. Let's see if news changes, that we can report good news, or if nothing changes, that we can report what the fuck, why is it taking so long, and talk more about the concerns that we went into tonight. Regarding endorsements for everybody. I mean, I don't want to be, I'm not picking on Jamal. And again, I love the guy. I'm inspired and I respect him and I admire him. But this is a concern for a supporter and someone who admires and respects a public figure that is an activist that I felt could do so much for the community in light of the two choices we're seeing right now. One, that I don't think it's going to serve the same interests broadly that I know Jamal is committed to. So be interesting. Let's see what happens.
Should we try and get Jimmy on to give us an update?
Jimmy, I sent you the link in your Twitter DM. It's there. I sent you a StreamYard link, so come on. Let's have her in. We'll add you as soon as you're able to pop in, Jimmy. So yeah, all kinds of fun stuff happening here with guests and friends, and this is great.
Yeah, it's a busy Tuesday night, I tell you that.
This is what hanging out on the corner is all about.
Come
Jimmy,
hang out on Chicago Corner.
Jimmy, let me know if you got the link on Twitter. If not, I can resend it. I did send it to your DM at Jimmy Saves the World on Twitter. So if you can pop in from there. So we'll see if she joins us. What else are we talking about tonight?
What else are we talking about tonight? There's Jimmy. There she is.
Dang, there we are.
My lighting is horrible. My camera is horrible. I have nothing set up right now.
Your lighting's okay. Your lighting's fine.
Okay.
Yeah, you look great.
Cool. Good.
All right, cool. Yeah, I was wondering if we had an update. We see that somebody was plowing you out.
Yep.
No pun intended. Sorry, I got Uncle
I think
Warren
that
on
every
the
time
brain.
I say it, I know.
Somebody goes, Ed, did you really think before you spoke there?
I know.
I blame Uncle Warren. He did this to me.
I know. I have to say plow the streets, or else I'm like, this sounds dirty to everybody. I know it does.
Yeah. So, the last we heard was you'd gone. It was a couple days ago. You posted a video. You were in a town where they were handing out supplies, and you got some eggs and some creamer and some pet food, I think.
Yeah.
Has your food supply situation improved since then?
Kinda. I got like a bunch of a big box of different kinds of nuts. So I've got peanuts and almonds. I've got a 25 box of protein shakes that
Those
I
are
think
good.
cost like $100, and we got them for free. So this is what I'm living on right now.
I used to live off those protein shakes when I was trying to lose weight. So they're good, though. I mean, they're good to sustain you.
Yeah, I've had 3 of them today, and I'm snacking on nuts like crazy. So, but yeah, that's our food situation now.
Yeah. So you're kind of okay. Like you're not going to be starving in a day.
No, I don't think so. I still got like some frozen burritos left, and we still got some canned goods and just in case and stuff. And I just got my daughter back yesterday, so I am a little weary. But they are allowing people up the mountain if you're a resident, so you have to have like an ID with the address up here or a bill. And so my husband actually got to work today, finally, for the first time in 2 weeks. So I think he's down the hill out in the city. So he'll go to the grocery store probably on his way home tonight and bring us something. I'm dying for an In-N-Out double so bad. That's all I want.
Is there one in the vicinity? Can you
Down
actually go
where my husband is? Yeah, I'm pretty sure he's been craving for one too. So I'm pretty sure he's gonna sneak one and surprise me when he gets home tonight.
So I have a quick question, because I just discovered this was happening. I think 2 days ago I saw on Twitter. I'm like, oh my God, I don't know what I can do. I just saying, sending good vibes to you, and we didn't get a chance to tune in to Kim Iverson earlier, clearly, because we're doing the show here. But what is the problem with the governor there and the state of California having any kind of infrastructure, even with remoter, secluded communities like the one that you're in, to like be prepared for this? And then Ed mentioned earlier that the cops were telling people what they couldn't do because of worries about liabilities when people wanted to come in and help people who are living up where you are.
Yeah, absolutely. With the infrastructure part, I don't think any of us expected something like this. This was completely unprecedented. There's an older gentleman, I was telling Kim earlier today, there's an older gentleman, very, very older gentleman that lives 2 doors down. He said he hasn't seen anything like this since 1978. So in my perspective, there's nothing I could have even done to prepare this, because I didn't even know that there was such thing as a storm like this before. That's before my time. So I don't think anybody could have expected it. A lot of us have, everybody's in their own situation and different. Some people have like A-frame roofs, to help with the snow. So us with the A-frame roofs, we're pretty fine. We're not having any cave-ins. It's just the people with more of a flatter kind of roofs are having trouble. More than half of us have fireplaces, but some of us don't. I don't have a fireplace. So our electricity, when it went out, we had to dig through the snow and bring out the generator to turn on the electricity so we can have a heater running through the house. Some people have fireplaces. So everybody's house is different. Everybody is in different situations. When it comes to Gavin Newsom and even Joe Biden himself, that's why I gave a shout out to Tara Reid, because even Tara Reid is out there doing something. Kim Iverson is trying to get the word out. But you don't even see Joe Biden even putting out, a state of emergency federally so we can get FEMA here, because now that people are starting to get out of their homes, bills are due, rent is due, everything is due right now still. Not it's just because our world stopped doesn't mean the rest of the world stopped. So now we have to figure out how we're going to financially all take care of ourselves when we're all practically barely surviving as it was before this storm even happened. So,
and it seems
and I heard Gavin Newsom was in Baja California and he just got back. So he pulled a Ted Cruz.
Yeah.
The response was late, and I do recall reading that there was some hopes that there would be airdrops while you guys were snowed in. And was there a response like that to get supplies there or not?
So at first they had said that the what was it, the Army Guard or whatever the Guard was supposed to be here. The National Guard. That ended up being a lie. There was just National Guard members dressed as CAL FIRE coming up here. Other than that, nobody's really showed up. I give props to CAL FIRE and the inmates that work with CAL FIRE. They have been coming out here, walking down streets with shovels, just shoveling people out house by house. CAL FIRE and the inmates are literally the only people out here doing anything. They were
inmates, the slave labor inmates,
yes.
that Kamala Harris wanted to pay a couple bucks a day to fight fires there. Yeah, I mean that's like the infrastructure of California, slave labor.
Yeah.
Because
absolutely.
those in charge are not actually responsive the way they should be, which left you all in a rut there.
Right. And we were supposed to get some airdrops. That's where my original post was from. Me and my husband trekked almost 8 miles into Crestline to try to get some food because they said that the airdrops were going to come. The airdrops, they said that you can't, the police officer said you can't come because it's not safe for them to drop it anywhere. And so a couple of guys literally just walked into the grocery store with a collapsed roof, super scary, really terrifying, grabbed some frozen food items. And that's kind of what kept us going for the first couple of days after we were starting to run out, was those guys. They dropped MREs over at the school yesterday, but they didn't really notify us. They were supposed to drop it 2 days ago. We all went to the store. Nobody came. They still said no. So some of the grocery or the liquor store people just started giving away their food for us, just hooking us all up. And then today they airdropped MREs, but I don't know if anybody went over there. I'm not going for the MREs. I have enough here saved just in case. So.
This is the United States of America that Jimmy's reporting from, California, the biggest state in the union. And this is what they're dealing with in one of the most prosperous states of the union as well. And it's just, look, Jimmy, we are like, I keep saying, are you a fan of the Marvel Avenger movies?
I am a big Marvel fan, yes.
And so I think we're living in the reality where Steve Rogers did not return all the Infinity Stones. That's my
Right. Absolutely. Yeah, it sucks. Yeah. And I just want everybody to know too, like, we're still not out of the thing, even though we are shoveled out or we're plowed out. Now we've got 15-foot berms in front of our house that we have to get ourselves out of because, you know, the snow's got to go somewhere and they can't just kind of set it to a certain area. So they just make sure there's a road and we've got to shovel ourselves out. We helped a neighbor today shovel her. I guess our neighbor, George, has been there for the last 13 days. Couldn't get out of his door, didn't have a phone to contact anyone. Thank God he is still alive, but we shoveled him out of his house today. So we're going to be going around shoveling more people out, trying to figure out who else needs things. So we're still not out of the clear yet. And lots of neighborhoods still need to be shoveled and snow plowed as well.
Yeah, it kind of feels like this is a preview of the post-apocalyptic thing when the EMP hits and everybody's screwed and all the rich people end up flying off to Mars or into their safety ark or whatever the hell it is, and the rest of us have to fend for ourselves.
Yep.
Identify yourself as Ukrainian, Jimmy. Maybe then you'll get faster.
That's what everybody on Twitter that I agree with the most has said is, do I need to put up a yellow and blue flag on the top of my house to get some help around here? You
spray paint all the giant snowdrifts blue and yellow.
Yeah, maybe I'll get some help.
This is the storm we were threatened with last Friday. Remember, Ed, when they said we were going to get the huge snowstorm that never showed up here?
Yeah, I think it went south of us. But yeah, I mean, we don't get the kind of snow that we used to get in Chicago because of the crazy weather patterns with the global warming happening. And but we do get extreme weather. So I'm not surprised that this has happened. It's just amazing to me because clearly it hasn't happened in a very long time in your area.
Right.
Was this storm forecast and predicted in your area before it happened?
Not this much, no. We just knew a big one.
They only have to get their jobs right half the time. In the meantime, they predicted like a huge snowstorm here last Friday. Seems like San Bernardino is the ones that got it because it wasn't actually predicted or forecast. The extreme weather that they were going to get.
Yep.
Crazy.
Yep. They
My
just
God.
said for us to prepare. It was just going to be another snowstorm. All of us just did normal preparing like always. I even was, telling my neighbor, because my neighbors just moved up here about 2 months ago. So this is their first time even in a mountain area. They're from the city. So we're just like, oh, shovel your thing. Just, stay ahead of the snow. And day 2, I'm out there shoveling. He's like, are you all right? I'm like, yeah, I'm trying to get ahead of the snow. Now day 3 or 4, we're all in our homes. Not even going to come out.
Yeah, it's like, where do you put the snow? I mean, is anybody like bringing in like giant trucks to just truck away big piles of snow? Where can you move the snow to?
Nowhere. That's the problem. We've ran out of places to do it. My arms and my shoulders kill me from just trying to get it higher and higher and higher. The piles are higher than me now. So
you kind of have to enlist somebody who knows how to build igloos and just build like a giant igloo skyscraper in a bunch of places so that you can at least turn them into structures where you can just pile more snow.
Yeah.
And then have them still be a useful type of structure.
Right.
But then, of course, the cops would knock it down and say, oh, we can't do that. It's not safe.
Not up to code.
Jimmy, why don't you tell some of our viewers who might not be familiar with you, although they should be, because we've shared airtime before. We did the New Year's Eve Day show together, where they can find you and a little bit about your YouTube channel.
Yeah, of course. You can find me at KRTD Media on YouTube. My show is called What with 2 A's. I normally do my show Monday through Friday. I've been taking the last couple of weeks off because of this, but I can't wait to get back to talk about everything that's been going on in every little detail from beginning to end, even some of the insider independent media selfish drama that I've been dealing with even getting interviews and stuff. Like the selfishness in independent media has been pretty bad with this. So I can't wait.
Any of that right now, or want to save it?
No, I can definitely say, because I've been waiting to say it. Let's just say somebody, indie, even though, everybody's in indie media, decided to try to stop me from getting an interview with Kim Iverson yesterday, trying to not allow me to do the interview. Well, it was more of, I got a call from Tara, and she had said, I really want to do an interview for you guys, get some more eyes and ears on your mountain. And I was like, absolutely, of course. And she gave me a call and said that I needed to fix some things that I had going on with Indy, and I needed to apologize. So I got off the phone with her, and I just couldn't figure it out. I let Indy know.
All right, that's drama nobody else cares about. We don't have to do that.
Yeah, no, it wasn't. But it's really crazy though, because it was like, being held back from getting the word out because I had to apologize.
Yeah,
and I'm just like, no.
I mean, look, you got a situation going on. I think everybody's show should be having you on so you can talk about it, because mainstream media is glossing over this.
Exactly.
For sure.
That's the biggest problem.
And so it's important to get independent voices and people actually on the ground experiencing these events so that they can give us the perspective that the corporate media is not giving us.
And I didn't realize the ability to do interviews is dependent on somebody having to apologize to someone else for their hurt feelings. I didn't realize anybody had the power to keep you off Kim Iverson. I'm glad that they didn't, and I'm glad you were on there. But
because no one can tell me what to do.
But we do see, we call it clout chasing. Okay, we see a lot of clout chasing in indie media and on YouTube that should not be there. And I'm sorry you went through that. And I had no clue about that. I'm just thinking to myself tonight, we should have her on since we're talking about it, because it's good exposure for you. It's a good exposure for what's happening up in your community. And it's just the right thing to do. Why should anybody tell you can't go on Kim Iverson unless you apologize to somebody for something else? That's nonsense.
Right. Nobody's going to tell me what to do. I'm going to get help from my mountain no matter what. This is my community. These are my people. These are my family. And if I don't even want to start crying. I love this fucking community. They are absolutely amazing. And I don't know where I would be without them. So yeah, I'm going to do whatever I can to get them help.
Yeah, we're glad to hear that you're getting some kind of support in your community, even if the local governments are not making it easy for you guys to
Yeah.
get
Yeah.
up and
Shout
down
out
the
to that
mountain.
guy, Sean. I don't even know who he is, just some random local guy here in town. But shout out to Sean, whoever you are out there, for renting a snow plow and just doing it yourself. No charge at all on anyone. So he's amazing.
That was cool.
Yeah.
There is something we can ask you about. Are you familiar with the concept of the dibs chair?
Oh boy.
The dibs chair?
Okay, it's probably just a Chicago thing.
It's definitely just a Chicago thing. It's selfish people who dig out a spot for themselves, Jimmy, and decide
parking spots.
A parking spot because they dug out their parking spot, because they put the labor into it on a public street. They then feel that they have the right to put a lawn chair or a construction cone, or in some cases, I've seen during the Christmas time season, nativity statues in their spot. So while they're gone, the spot is there for them when they come back, despite the fact there are people during the day who need that spot. We call it dibs. I call it bullshit. It's a big issue here in Chicago. I'm like, here's an example, Chicago. Jimmy and her friends in San Bernardino are digging each other out because it's the right thing to do, and they're not claiming their parking spots, and they're not claiming, I dug this out, so it's got to be here for me when I come back. That's community. Dibs.
Yeah. I've never even heard of that. I dug out my husband's pot. My neighbor helped finish digging it out today. I've got my next door neighbor in my husband's spot, and I've got a neighbor from 4 houses down with her car in our next door neighbor's spot who's got 2 cars. We've all been digging each other out, giving each other spots to park. Yeah, we don't know anything about dibs and parking.
Nor should you, because it's just such a antiquated bullshit Chicago thing that I'm ashamed of when people actually argue about, are you for dibs or you aren't for dibs? I'm like, no, help your neighbor out. Then they're like, well, if you put the time into digging out that spot, shouldn't you have it for when you come back? No, dig out the spot, and then someone who's dug out their spot, maybe you'll get their parking spot when you get back. You can't claim a public street because you dug your car out of a snowdrift.
Right.
So
I brought it up because I expected Jerry to go into a rant like that.
Oh, is that what you?
I got exactly what I needed.
He got a soundbite. All right, he's happy.
Yeah, because and also to give everyone in Chicago a little bit of perspective, work with your communities, help dig each other out when the snow comes, if it comes back. We still got a little time left in March, and you know how it goes in like a lion and out like a different kind of lion. And sometimes we get some snow before spring comes. So help each other out. Yeah. Stop messing around with the dibs.
Yeah.
I've been referencing the San Bernardino community, but is that proper where you are, or you're in a town in San Bernardino?
I'm in San Bernardino County. We're in the mountains of,
I just want to make sure I was referencing it right.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right. Thanks, guys. And thank you for bringing me on and getting some help. You guys are awesome.
Maybe this is the little thing we could do to try to help out, get the word out. So glad you're all right.
That's all it takes.
And your family and your husband. Awesome. Thanks for joining us.
Yes. Thank you.
Thanks, Jimmy.
All right. Bye.
All right. That was cool. And so we got the last minute breaking update from Jimmy in the San Bernardino Mountains, and it sounds like they're making some progress in getting dug out, but it's a community thing because governments and local authorities are letting them down. So
what else is new?
Yeah, so don't let that happen in your town. I did have another couple stories. I don't know how many. We're getting close to 10:30 now.
Up to you.
We could save them because none of them are super critical. We could go to the. I will just go to the last couple ones here. I want to play this.
And people can also check the show notes for these stories that we didn't cover. Yeah. Did we go into Johnson versus Vallis, the education questions via Block Club? Maybe
we didn't, and it's a whole thing on just why the different perspectives they have. And since we got 5 weeks, we can cover that in a future show. But I wanted to quickly play this.
Cubs will become the first Major League Baseball team to have Stop the Bleed kits around the ballpark. The trauma kits look like this. They include a tourniquet, a wound packing gauze, a space blanket, trauma shears, an instructional manual, gloves, and a marker. They'll be placed around Wrigley Field to help in case someone is bleeding from an injury. Ballpark staff will be trained on how to apply direct pressure, pack the wound, and apply a tourniquet to stop the bleeding.
Is this for fear of people getting hit by a ball or fans like assaulting each other?
I don't know. Maybe there's an increase in hidden knives. I don't know. But don't they have metal detectors? But I just played that so I could get this joke in. Will not include instructions on keeping owners from trading away World Series winning players. It's not that kind of bleed stopping.
I've got some breaking news. Share my screen. The other candidate who's keeping us all in suspense. Should we take bets on this, Ed?
Oh.
It's coming tomorrow.
He's going to make an announcement tomorrow that he's going to get his money behind Vallis.
Yeah. Well, they're buzzed. They're like, we said they should do a road picture together.
Yeah, they're thick as thieves.
Yeah, Paul and Willie Do America. There. Oh, here's a picture that someone shared. There you go. Is there any question to who Willie Wilson's going to be endorsing tomorrow?
There's no question.
I don't think so.
Why he even made it a possibility that he would endorse Brandon Johnson is just it's ridiculous.
Yeah, it's attention. So he said, okay, so really quickly, media advisory. Why? After having met with Paul Vallis, Brandon Johnson, the community faith leaders, and faith leaders? Did he really meet with faith leaders that think Paul Vallis is a good idea? And engaged on social media, I'm prepared to make my endorsement in the runoff for mayor of Chicago. I believe that my endorsement will provide a boost to the candidate as I received more than 51,000 votes, says Dr. Wilson. Dr. Wilson stated, I appreciate all those who voted for me. My endorsed candidate will help lead our city in this difficult time. Wouldn't it be totally bizarro world, Ed, if Wilson endorsed Johnson and Green endorsed Vallis?
That would be bizarro world for sure.
Totally.
Yeah.
Totally.
All right. We're going to jump ahead. I know I had a few extra stories in the show notes. Maybe we'll reach them. Like, for example, we still don't know if Taste of Chicago is happening, although Department of Cultural Affairs says that they're going to make it happen, but it's not on the schedule because of the stupid NASCAR race. So, but I wanted to briefly talk about one of the good things happening.
I resent the fact that you call the NASCAR race stupid, and I fully expect my successor will carry through on the promise I made to destroy the downtown area of Chicago with destroy in the wake of my electoral loss. Gotta go.
Okay. You cannot keep the helmet. You have to give the helmet back. Okay. So here, Pilsen Food Pantry moves into former YMCA, hopes to raise $75,000 for renovations before June opening. Pantry founders bought the former YMCA on Ashland Avenue for its food giveaways, free clothes closet, medical supply closet, little library, and teaching kitchen. The pantry has been in Pilsen Food Pantry is moving into its own building this year. The pantry has been inside a closed church at 1850 South Throop Street since 2020. Pantry founder and family physician Evelyn Figueroa said negotiations with the Archdiocese of Chicago to sell the building to the pantry stalled, so the pantry's organizers began searching for a new home. Pantry leaders came across a building at 2124 South Ashland 3 weeks ago and bought it, Figueroa said. The building, a former YMCA, has enough space for the food pantry as well as the group's free clothes closet, medical supply closet, little library, and teaching kitchen, Figueroa said. The group hopes to raise $75,000 to help cover the costs of renovations, such as installing an HVAC system, widening the outdoor ramp, replacing floors, fixing burst water pipes, and adding a second bathroom, Figueroa said. We'll really be able to do a lot of the same stuff in a really neat way, she said. Owning the pantry building means the organization's leaders can more easily make changes and feel confident in its stability and future, Figueroa said. It isn't clear what archdiocese leaders plan to do with the closed church on Throop. This helps a lot, Figueroa said of the new building. A lot of folks who wanted to help but wouldn't help until we owned the building. In addition to GoFundMe donations, Figueroa's team is looking for people interested in donating their services or offering discounts on renovations. Anyone interested can reach out to the organizers. We have there's some links in the show notes, but here is, if I can get to the thing, here is the short link for their GoFundMe. And it's gofund.me/867AFEA7, or you can go and look in the show notes for the link in the full link, which says help the Pilsen Food Pantry renovate its new home. And let's see if I have that site up so we can take a look. Okay, here we are. Currently, they've raised $5,589. Their goal is $75,000. So if you want to help, go ahead and help. It's always good to help a food pantry because it's helping everybody in the community when you help anybody in the community.
Absolutely. We have some links to charities that we have. Do we still have the links on our website?
Yeah, they're still there.
You can find them at www.chicagocornertv.com. Please, help reach out in the spirit of community to the Pilsen Food Pantry. But there are a lot of charitable organizations around the city of Chicago that we've kind of aligned with and are sharing it on our website. So check them out there too.
Yeah. And I think the final story of the night is going to be the what we hinted at in the show title and show notes, the legend of Mojo.
Yes, I shared this with you. You probably saw it anyway, but
we would be actually that. Yeah, Jerry shared that with me.
Sure. But you probably saw it. But we would have been remiss if we didn't do a follow up on this. So yeah,
I'm trying to hit this.
I was just like touched to see more of the story behind Joseph Cromulus, the walking man, who was tragically murdered last year by some asshole who decided to set him on fire.
Yeah. But it turns out he was actually kind of a cool dude in the 70s.
I kind of imagine that.
Before he was like a meme-worthy walking dude in the city. I mean, But here, this is cool because Walking Man revealed friends who knew him as Mojo in the 70s share photos and stories. Vicky Mamina, now 66, recalled the years she was close to Joseph Cromulus in the 1970s and the cast of characters in their friend group by David Struett of the Sun-Times. Check out that 70s hair mullet helmet.
Christ, he looks like my ex-father-in-law.
And the 70s porn stash. I mean, this guy had it all.
He did. Good-looking guy in his youth and in his older age.
He's got the gold chain. He's got the John Travolta shirt. I mean, he's got it.
Yeah.
So there he is. He's pictured in a cafe. They don't say which one. In the 1970s. Yeah. Sorry. What?
I guess you'll get. I'm going to shut up.
There's a bit of a delay. So when Jerry starts talking, I'm like, oh, crap. I got to stop and let him talk.
Well, I'm always like waiting for a moment where Ed does stop talking because I don't want to step on your lines. And I think the delay is probably what's causing all the cross stepping on each other because we're not. Yeah.
That's definitely what it is. All right. I think his Uncle Warren says, gotta go. Or is he commenting on what Lori said? Oh, he's probably saying okay. All right, let us know. And by the way, Jimmy Sunderland, who joined us earlier this evening, is not only on KRTD Media on her own show called What, but she also is a co-host on Extra Bulla's secret show with Uncle Warren. So it's always fun late at night. It's usually like a Friday midnight or Saturday midnight type show. They're on Eastern time zone, so in Chicago usually it's around 11. But it's nice to tune in and hear them talk about whatever the hell they want to talk about, really.
Yeah.
You know, that, and they check out this other live stream called Chicken City, where they have a live stream on a chicken coop where there's like a dozen chickens in there. That's kind of fun. Anyway, back to the story. 1970s.
You ever had sex with a chicken, Ed? There's some good-looking chickens in that camera that Warren and Jimmy. You ever seen Midnight Run? Remember when Charles Grodin,
not in a very long time.
Charles Grodin and Robert De Niro are riding the freight train.
Did he ask that question?
Yeah, he asked that to Charles Grodin asked that to Robert De Niro. That was the joke, because they're really mad at each other and they're not speaking. And for some reason or another, I think they just like come out of a situation where there were chickens and they started talking about the chickens. And yeah, that was how Grodin decided to finally break the ice and get De Niro to finally just melt down and talk to him and like get past their little meltdown. So that's where the line came from.
Okay.
There's some good looking chickens back there, Jack. Yeah, I would have taken a shot at one or two of them.
Chicago Corner does not promote bestiality.
No, we do not.
Back to the story about the legend of Mojo here on Chicago Corner. Completely unrelated to the thing we just mentioned. Yeah, I should probably do the Bill Curtis voice for the 1970s.
Yes.
In the 1970s, Vicky Mamina knew him as Mojo. It took another 4 decades to learn her old friend and old crush had become the mythical walking man of Chicago. Mamina met Joseph Cromelis shortly after moving to Chicago in 1974 for art school. She fell into the company of several peddlers who met most nights at a near Northside cafe. By the way, peddlers, that's vendors. That's people who on the street selling stuff. That's okay. Not everybody knows that. They talked about work and life. They were my family, said Mamina, 66. They worried about me, and I worried about them. But Cromelis wasn't famous then. In their group, Cromelis was shy, but always well-dressed, Mamina said. Yeah, check out this photo. Man, this would have been a cool guy to hang out with.
He was styling.
Yeah. Yeah, there he is. Here, Joseph Cromelis, known as Walking Man, pictured in the 1970s in a cafe. Which one? She doesn't remember? I don't know. It seems like the paneling on this place would be somewhat memorable.
Yeah.
Somebody knows where this was taken. All right. Other street folks gathered with them at the cafe. I remember DP Joe, Joey Diamond, and even Barrett Deems, who was drummer for Louis Armstrong, that would stop by, Mamina said. They kind of adopted me, she said. Back in the day, you'd walk and see the same people every day and connect with them. It was like Cheers, said Sidney Toms, 69, who worked then with Mamina at K&S Photographics and met her and Cromelis at the cafe. There was no judgment. It was people talking about what they think. There were never heated discussions, said Toms, who now lives in Arizona. As peddlers, their conversations often turned to the deals at Maxwell Street Market and the price of gold. Cremelis would buy knockoff. Oh, this you're gonna love this. Cremelis would buy knockoff Bolex watches that Mamina, using her skills as a photolab technician, altered to say Rolex. She said.
Bolex. That's hilarious.
During the 70s, there were still places these guys could rent rooms affordably nearby. This was Rush Street, in the mid to late 70s disco era, pre-AIDS. It was an exciting time in my young life, she said. I know I'm quoting the woman speaking it like Bill Curtis, but it just kind of feels right.
Yeah, it's a Bill Curtis Chicago style story. Yes. We're reporting on here, so his affectations are completely whatever.
She lost touch with Cremelis in 1980, when she moved to Los Angeles, then settled in Chattanooga, Tennessee, where she works as an artist. Let's see, are there any more? There might be a couple more photos. I know we're getting close to the bedtime for us.
We're getting close to dinner time for me. I haven't eaten yet, so I'm trying to figure out where I'm going to go forage for food after we're off that's still open that I can do carry out, because I got nothing in my refrigerator to cook tonight.
It's too bad you can't train Oreo to go make a burger run. You know,
I don't want burger. I think I'm going to go over to Shawarma Inn and get some beef shawarma and some rice and some hummus and pita bread. I think they're open till midnight, so I think I'll be.
In the 70s, shawarma was very popular.
Still is.
So I'm just making that part of the story. It's not actually in the story. I like shawarma. That's good stuff.
Tony Stark was right. Remember the end of Avengers after they beat Loki? He's like, after they revive him, and you guys ever had shawarma? And it was like the closing scene in the end credits.
Oh, I remember. Yeah.
Tony Stark was right.
Good stuff. Shawarma. Yeah, there's a place near me. You can get shawarma on a pizza. It's amazing. Pie High, I think it's called. Contact us if you want to be a sponsor. Anyway, she learned of Cremelis's death and his local fame in December after his obituary showed up in her Facebook feed. It just said Chicago Walking Man, and it was that picture of him with white hair. And it took me maybe a minute to go, "That's Mojo," she said. At her son's house, she dug up old photos she had taken of him in the 1970s. Mamina last saw Cremelis during a visit to Chicago in 1985. He instantly recognized her, and they talked for an hour as if no time had passed. Here he is again, same place.
That was probably the same get-together.
Same camera roll.
Yeah. Those satin shirts there. The guy in the pink satin shirt.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, that's stylish there. They really knew how to dress in the 70s. Those extra wide collars and stuff. I mean, you can't get away with that stuff today.
I use that expression for the 1930s and 40s, though. They really knew how to dress in the 30s and 40s. I mean, 70s, yeah, in a different way.
Well, yeah, it's in a different way, completely different vibe from the 30s. Yeah. Cremelis was born in Europe and moved to Chicago. Growing up over a bar in his family ran on Halsted Street, his family has said. Oh, so his family had a bar. When he was 19, his family moved to Michigan, but he stayed. He tried a factory job but didn't like it. Then got a peddler's license and sold jewelry on the street.
That's such a Chicago word, peddler. I know you defined it earlier, but I haven't heard that word for a while.
Well, that's
And-
why I was like, wait, nobody knows what the hell that means, and they're going to think they mean, it's like, it doesn't mean beggar. The dude's
No.
actually selling stuff on the street, you know.
Yeah, it's something that's also, I think, very specific to Chicago, like dibs. And we say, wait, do we say soda or pop here? One or the other. Other places.
It depends.
Yeah.
We grew up with pop. I've heard people say soda. I like to say soda pop. I know pop actually originated because Faygo up in Michigan has this thing called red pop.
And as you know, Ed, I like to say sabotage. You say sabotage. I say sabotage.
Yeah, you say sabotage. I say soda pop. All right. So he tried a factory job but didn't like it, then got a peddler's license and sold jewelry on the street. He lived in efficiency apartments for years but was forced onto the streets sometime in the past decade. Cremelis died in December at age 75 from injuries he suffered in an attack last year. Someone had poured flammable liquid on him while he slept on Lower Wabash Avenue, badly burning him.
He was murdered. He was murdered.
Yeah, by a pyropsychopath.
Yeah. There we go. Jimmy just calls it Pepsi because that's all she drinks all the time.
You want a Pepsi? What kind? Cherry Pepsi, please.
I do cherry Pepsi and cherry Coke.
Pepsi. Yeah.
I like the extra cherry flavor.
Yeah, I don't like that all the sodas use high fructose corn syrup now. I like the regular cane sugar soda, so I don't get to drink all the stuff I used to drink when I was a kid that made me gain 100 million pounds.
Yeah,
I don't teenager.
I don't drink that much soda these days anyway, or Coke or Pepsi, unless it's sweetening up a little shot of Jack Daniels.
Yeah. But fortunately, there are some options in the grocery store if you're gonna drink soda. Like I like the Mountain Dew throwback and the Pepsi throwback, and Green River is made from real sugar. So those are good. I don't know if you guys get the Green River soda outside of Chicago, Jimmy, but they do have it in cans now. So maybe your local grocery supplier, once they get unburied from the snow, will be able to supply that for a really weird lime flavored soda. It's delightful.
It's delightful.
So here it is. Joseph Cremelis, also known as Mojo.
The walking dude, the walking man. Look at him styling there, like present day though, 06.
I know he made do with what he had, right?
Swag. What's the word? Strutting around the city.
Yeah. Yeah, the dude, he never lost his swagger at all.
Really sad. I hope that guy is locked up for life.
Mamina remembers one personal moment with Cremelis. She had taken a sudden trip to Hawaii for 2 weeks, but Cremelis didn't know. I think he was worried about me, she said. Cremelis found her at a payphone. Remember payphones?
Yeah. I remember.
And we ended up kissing, she said. It was so funny because, I had a major crush on him, but we never talked about it after that, she said. I'm sorry today I wasn't bolder because I would have followed him anywhere.
I wish I was much bolder in my younger life. I'd probably not. I understand that sentiment.
Yeah.
People being too shy or not bold enough to miss out on opportunities with people that could have been special. But
yeah. All right. I think we're near the end of this.
No, let's finish it. It's a good article.
Life likely got harder for Cremelis as he grew older and his friends moved away or died, Mamina said. Rush Street used to be seedy and affordable. Well, that's what I look for a place. Look for in a place.
Seedy
and affordable.
Because the seediness speaks to the whole character of the place, so long as it's affordable.
Yeah, I mean, look, there were obviously, you have all kinds of situations in the city, but back in the 70s, seedy and affordable was probably where it was at.
Pretty much.
Yeah. He and everyone else got priced out. Well, that's happening now. People get with the taxes, but yeah. He was such a good dresser. He was so proud. I can't even imagine him trying to keep up appearances while living on the street, she said. Yeah, but as we saw in the photos and the videos, he was actually doing okay.
He made do. Yeah, he did.
They would rent rooms pretty reasonably back then. That's where most of these guys lived, all of the row houses. Now they're multi-million-dollar homes. Mamina says she wants people to know Cremelis was more than just a Chicago character. Joe was a person, she said. He was a really nice guy.
Oh, there she is.
And there she is. 1979.
Nice looking lady.
Thanks, Vicky.
Yeah. I'm glad that we got some insight into his past beyond what we know of him in the present, because he always was kind of a mystery, kind of a cipher walking the streets. People saw him, they knew who he was, but they didn't know much about him. And it's a shame we had to learn more about him due to the tragic circumstances surrounding his murder. But it's a great Chicago story. He's a Chicago original.
Oh, and there his cremated remains interred at St. Boniface Cemetery at 4901 North Clark. So there he is. Joseph Mojo Cremelis.
Now, what I was waiting for, which is why we were over talking each other in the beginning, was if they were going to give an explanation as to why his nickname was Mojo. But I guess maybe it's just spoke to his presence. He had mojo.
Yeah. And his name was Joe.
I guess. Yeah. Mojo. Yeah. Okay. That's true. Man, totally over my head, but you're right. That should have been more obvious to me. Sometimes the most obvious things that are right under your nose get overlooked.
So we had Mojo and less Joe. I don't know where the hell I was going with that. Anyway, I think that's about it for this evening. I want to thank you all for joining us tonight on Chicago Corner. And I want to thank Lori for breaking in with her almost endorsement.
No, sir. No, sir. No, sir. You will stop speaking. You will stop speaking. You're full of crap. And that's the nicest thing that I can say.
She's right.
Oh, we'll see you at the drive-thru, Lori. Thank you, Warren. We aim to please. We'll send you the bill.
So once again, thank you for joining us here on Chicago Corner on a glorious Taco Tuesday. I actually didn't have a taco today. I had,
as Jimmy would say, what?
I was driving home and I didn't take my normal way because the expressway is ridiculous right now, and it's going to be worse in a couple weeks when they shut down the inbound Kennedy. But Jim's Original opened up recently a new location closer to where I live, and Jim's Original is known for the grilled Chicago Polish sausage sandwich with the grilled onions. And man, is that delicious. I gotta tell you.
You know what detours me every time I'm driving back from my client on the South Side who I'm editing for, and I want to get home and I want to eat healthy. And I always pass, it's on my way home, Al's
Beef.
Al's Beef, or there's one on Foster that's really good too. And it's like, I got to just treat myself to an Italian beef sandwich with the grilled onions and the Swiss cheese on that dipped roll. It throws off my diet, but whatever. It's worth it.
Yeah, but you gotta get your recommended monthly allowance of Chicago.
And I shouldn't call it a diet. It's just trying to eat better. I'm always trying to eat better and not be distracted by really. I guess beef sandwich isn't bad. You know what it is? It's the carbs in the bun, in the roll. That's what it is. Not the beef or the onions, which are vegetable. It's the carbs in the roll.
Yeah. I used to worry more about that stuff. I for a while I used to try to do all the low carb stuff all the time, and I'm like, well, I'll do it when I can.
Yeah.
But now it's just, if you can get a good handle on your daily calorie intake, and try not to overeat when you do eat meals.
And I don't.
Pretty much. I mean, that's the goal right there.
But the thing is that I'm static. It's like even when I'm focusing on reducing my caloric intake and I'm active, I'm at this plateau that I can't get past, and I think it's just going to require exercise that I don't have the energy to do on one leg all the time. So
I have a potential solution for that, and then what people don't realize, if you're doing more exercise, you actually have to eat more calories.
Well, I hear that, but the thing is that I'm reducing my intake is barely like there during the day.
Yeah.
I'm not really that sedentary. I probably do a lot more on one leg than some people do on two legs with the way I exert myself. But anyway, real quickly, Kathy had it right. Mojo kind of looked like Burt Reynolds. That's a good catch.
Mojo. Yeah. He did have a Burt Reynolds kind of vibe there.
Yeah.
Yeah. So last thing about eating and calories is you got to figure out what your normal daily caloric intake is based on the activity you have. And if your goal is to either lose weight or gain weight, you have to figure out at what point your metabolism decides it needs to store fat instead of burn it. And so you have a certain number of calories every day that you have to be within 1 or 200 calories one way or the other, or your body will say, okay, too many calories, I got to store the extra calories. Not enough calories, I got to store all the calories from fat I can, because I don't know when you're going to eat again. Bodies are stupid. Human body is really dumb when it comes to storing and burning fat.
And what we've got going against us, apparently, as our bodies get older, our metabolism is the factor. It slows down. No matter what we do, our metabolism as we get older is our greatest enemy, even when we are eating right. And we're kind of like at this phase where, look, I'm not grossly obese or overweight. I'm actually quite comfortable with my weight. I'm just tired of having other people tell me that, well, you probably should lose a little bit more. And it's just like, you hear that all the time, so you get insecure about it. But I'm very happy with where I'm at. I'm just
the important thing is feeling good. It's like if you're not feeling a whole lot of pain, your flexibility's good, you're well hydrated, you're comfortable, you're sleeping okay, then everything else is gravy, really.
At 56, I'm not going to have the chiseled abs or the six-pack abs or the chiseled physique, but we're doing just fine at our age for what we need to do. So
I think so. I think we're managing.
Yep. I'm just horribly vain, that's why that comes up.
I would like you to know that this is just a part-time job. My chief of staff told me I have to come back to the office at least until the next mayor gets in. So I might have to hold off on updating you on my endorsement or the next specials of Cake Shake at Lortillo's.
Stop calling it that. It's pork.
Don't say it, or he's gonna have to pay for that endorsement, and they're not gonna do it.
God, she can't even handle doing drive-through at Portillo's.
She's just gonna keep arguing with the people in the drive-through and the people at the fry station and
For
the
things-
managers and everyone else. What kind of job is she gonna have going forward? Where's she gonna?
She's going to fail upward in the Democratic Party. And remember, if Biden strokes out, J.B. Pritzker's got his eye on the presidency, and there's going to be a vacancy downstate in Springfield. And what did we hear from Shane at Kerberos? What the Democratic Party is thinking of doing is running her for governor, not with the intention that she'll win, because clearly we don't want her up here, but it'll basically give her the national attention so they can put her in Congress and control things. So it's all a fucking game. It's all a big club that we're not in, as our George Carlin, dearly departed George Carlin used to say.
Yep, that's it. So join us Friday, 7:30 p.m. Central Time.
When we will have special guest Erica Nanton, Southside activist, to speak on the state of the runoff, as I guess how I'm going to, and where we are with endorsements. Maybe we'll have great news to share commentary on, or be scratching our heads. Why? Willie Wilson, he announced an endorsement on Wednesday. It's Friday. What about the other candidates?
Oh, my computer just sent me a warning setting. It wants to turn itself off. I better hit cancel on that.
Oh boy. What are you saying? Your computer has achieved sentience? It now calls the shots when you're using it.
It's telling me it's bedtime, is what it is.
Okay. And I got an hour to go grab my shawarma in, so.
All right. So grab your shawarma, Jerry. I want to thank everyone for joining us this evening. Again, thank you to all our Patreon supporters. If you'd like to support this channel so that we can keep doing this, patreon.com/Chicago Corner. Thank you to everyone who is liking and sharing the videos and telling everybody to tune in to our broadcast. Tell all your friends and family to subscribe to our YouTube channel because it helps. Even if they only tune in maybe once a year, it helps that they're subscribing to our channel. We hope they will tune in more than once a year, but you know, I got to have reasonable expectations, Jerry.
Although I want to share with our audience something I was unaware of and really didn't take into consideration as we're doing our live stream. We're looking at what StreamYard tells us as far as viewers, and now StreamYard is telling us right now we have 8 viewers.
Oh.
And I'm assuming we only have like 8 live viewers right now. But I think that that's only referencing YouTube.
Yeah.
What's live at the moment, because I went on to Twitter and saw, like, during a live stream, we've got 31 viewers there. And then we've got more viewers on Rockfin. Yeah.
Hello, Twitter viewers.
Yeah, we've got a lot of viewers. Well, let me go there right now and see if it shares in the moment how many viewers we have.
Yeah, if you're watching us on Twitter, send us a note on our Twitter account at Chicago Corner TV. Let us know you're watching. And for crying out loud, tell us why. Why are you watching us? We're nuts.
What appeals to everybody about our show? All right, so let's see here. Right now, I'm looking at my Nightstar Pro on Twitter because that's what I've got logged in. And apparently we've got, it says 21 views right now.
Wow.
I don't know if that's live or not. Oh, we've got 0 viewers on Twitter right now. Well, at least at Nightstar Pro. Let me go over to.
I mean, you shared that on a bunch of the different accounts, so I mean, they could be watching on a handful of different things there.
Yeah. So if I go to
I don't know if we had any Rockfin viewers today.
So right now,
nobody in the chat.
I'm seeing 2 viewers on Twitter right now.
Well, hello, 2 viewers on Twitter.
And let me look at what's happening on YouTube if they share how many live. So right now, StreamYard is showing us 8, right? Mm-hmm. And Twitter shares with us that there are, what did I say just now? 2. We go to YouTube.
Oh, we got 9 watching us now on YouTube.
Okay. All right. So, yeah, I think StreamYard's just processing the viewers on YouTube. It's not taking Twitter, and I don't know that it's able to like harvest the views from Twitter since it's just like, I don't know. I don't know the logistics behind it, but whatever. But yeah, thanks everybody for watching. Oh, here we go. Warren says he's watching us, honey, on Twitter. Awesome. Well, thanks to everybody who's watching, and I will let Ed take us out.
Yeah. So, with that said, ladies and gentlemen, good night and have a pleasant tomorrow.
I want you to get up now. I want all of you to get up out of your chairs. I want you to get up right now and go to the window, open it, and stick your head out and yell, "I..."
Get out. And don't come back until you've redeemed yourselves.
You're still here? It's over. Go home. Go.